Excuse me?
We have isolated ourselves from inferior species, but you have shown the will and the strength to isolate the genetically inferior parts of your own species as an evolutionary protection.
I don't think you understand. This was not intentional.
You're too modest. You're too modest. It's a brilliant move, Commander. You see, you isolate the genetic pool, you limit their chances for procreation, you create a workforce without a power base to challenge you. Well, this is not something we thought of, but it's something we will institute in our world at the first opportunity. You see...
Hi, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Matt.
And this is...
We Are All Kosh,
a Babylon 5 podcast.
I need to get a sample of the, woo noise.
Oh, from Kosh. See, I proposed that way back almost a year ago when we started this podcast, that we get a filter that makes you sound like Kosh when you say that.
I don't know about a filter, but maybe just a recording.
No, because there's a, at the beginning and then there's more to his voice than just adding the woo-woo at the background. There's an ominous buzz ahead of it. Which I feel like there should be a filter out there. There's definitely one. Is it free? Probably not. But can we find it? Maybe. I don't know. I'll poke around.
Okay.
I'll poke around. So we're going to talk about episode 12, season 2, episode 12, Acts of Sacrifice.
Not to be confused with the sword of sacrifice or the bow of sacrifice.
I was like, Acts of Sacrifice. Matt was like, well, you have my axe. Thanks for that. Oh, my heart. What an episode. There were a couple moments. Sometimes we'll be sitting there in silence because we kind of take notes and we kind of just watch. And we don't talk during the episode. We save a lot of that for the podcast. But every once in a while, I just go, and Matt would go, yeah. Or I go, ooh. And Matt would go, oof. Yeah.
Too close.
It hurt. It hurt like on a visceral level in several different ways. And it's really funny because when I get ready to do these, there's a couple of different websites I bring up because I pull information from a couple of different places. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I usually pull up is the IMDb episode the IMDb
site, trivia.
Yeah, on just that particular episode, which can be hard to find. I don't know. I feel like IMDb is never better. I've been using IMDb since we took that film and literature class in college
in 2005,
so full on 20 years ago. And he was like, there's this thing called the Internet Movie Database, the IMDb, and you can go there and look it up and you can look up who was in it. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And IMDb has never gotten better. To find a particular episode, you have to specifically Google it. Or it's buried. And now there's so many ads, you're like, I don't know what's happening. Anyway, I go to the particular episode and I don't read the reviews because I kind of feel like IMDb is like the Reddit of review places. It's just a mixed bag. But the top 2 reviews were a 10 out of 10, which was, I just see the snippet as I'm scrolling past. And the top one was a 10 out of 10, which was, this sets up Londo and Jakar as for their tragedy arcs. This is we've had them, we've been setting them up, but this is their first step down their path towards tragedy, both of them. And I was like, yeah, okay, fair.
Frenemies to enemies.
Frenemy, kind of, but just we've seen Londo, but we haven't seen Londo reaping the negative consequences of the decisions that he's been making. Not yet, not until this episode.
Right.
And we've seen Jakar do a lot of, feels very...
reprehensible.
Yeah, a villainous shit.
Yeah.
And he hasn't had any negative consequences really for his villainous shit. Not yet until this episode. The consequences, they start quenching.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, okay, that's fair. And then the other one was 2 out of 10. And it was like, I rarely rate episodes of television lower than a 5. But this was the worst episode I have ever seen. And you can safely skip it. And I was like, oh, did someone see themselves in this episode?
Uh-oh.
I'm in this picture and I don't like it. Is that what happened to you? I missed that on Facebook when it was like, I'm in this picture and I don't like it. That's what it felt like. It was like, ew, gross. This isn't real. There's a lot of prescient shit in this episode, and I'm really excited to talk about it. This originally aired the 22nd of February, 1995. I have been seeing an increasing wave, and it might be my algorithm, but for the amount of time that I'm on Instagram, my algorithm is all over the place. So, but I have been seeing an increasing wave of like, guys, the 90s wasn't better overall. I mean, there were things that happened. There was shit that happened in the 90s, just like there's shit that's happening right now. It's just that we don't see that anymore because we're not in it. But there is something about the lifestyle in the 90s that we've lost. And we've talked about this when we talked about filler. And I've seen a lot of reels that are like, I'm reclaiming it. I'm reclaiming my life like I had it in the 90s. And it's like, I'm going to be watching DVDs instead of streaming. I'm going to play CDs, or I'm going to own the album instead of using Spotify. I'm going to leave my phone in one spot in the house. And just like reclaiming your time. Yes. Because we live in your attention. Yeah. We live in an attention economy. That's what subscriptions are. That's what ads are. That's what every free service isn't free. They're selling you. And what they're selling is your attention and your time. Yeah. And so your time and your attention are a commodity that gets bought and sold.
Right. The rule is if a service is free for you to use, then you are the thing being sold.
Right. Exactly. Correct. So I support that fully. The reclaiming your life from these companies that have spent a lot of time and attention to learning how to hack every part of you to make money off of you. Yeah. And you wonder why literally everybody is on anti-anxiety medication. That's fucking why. They don't care what it does to you. They don't care. They just care that their targeted ads are targeted. Even though we know targeted ads don't work.
Right. Targeted ads are less effective than, what's the term for just like billboards and stuff? Yeah. Billboards and generalized commercials.
Just in your environment ads. Yeah. Or like word of mouth. Like my friends tell me about a thing and they think it's cool. Yeah. And I saw another one that was like a record store, and it was one of those record stores where everything is in milk crates. And everything is stacked.
Somebody posted that like, oh my God, guys, I discovered this place and I don't know how I would even begin to search it.
Yeah. They were like, what the fuck is this shit? And someone was like, you don't understand. That is treasure. You spend all day in a store like that going through things. And the fact that it's not marketed to you, that it's not like idealized marketing is bullshit. I mean, the fact that you don't understand how great it is because you're so used to the idea of targeted marketing.
It's like when you find a thrift store.
Oh my God,
where it's like, this whole category of things is $1.50 each. This whole category of things is $3 each. Instead of everything being individually priced based on its eBay or
God, don't even get me started. There is
whatever sale price.
The golden part of living in the middle of literally fucking nowhere is there's a thrift store here where you pay whatever it is in your heart to pay for whatever you find.
An honest to God charity thrift store.
Yeah. You pay cash because there has to be a river of money flowing through this place, and I bet they claim
they need to move items.
And they do. Yeah. And I'm there all the time. And a lot of times I'll pay more than I would pay. I pay whatever cash is in my wallet. I'm sure they make more money that way than any other way that they tried to. But that's how. Okay, we've diverged again. This is a coffee podcast. This isn't a liquor podcast, and yet we still can't manage to keep it together. I have made it to when it aired. It aired the 22nd of February, 1995. That's what started it, was reclaim your 90s life. Not the part where Ronald Reagan refused to admit that AIDS was real and lots of people died. Not that part of the 90s life, but you own yourself, and we need to remember that, and we need to start acting like that.
Yeah.
This is set in July 2259. It was written by JMS, big shocker, directed by Jim Johnston, and it had a Psy rating of 7.97. Remember, Groppo's was 7.49, so it's only slightly higher than Groppo's. I'm wondering if we, looking at this, it feels good, like it feels so prescient that we get more out of this episode than you would have gotten out of it contemporarily.
Yeah.
It may have felt heavy-handed. Look, oh my God, no one's really going to do that. That's bullshit. And then now you're like, oh, that's the news. Oh, that's the news.
That's literally in the
okay.
news
daily.
daily.
The only thing I can think that would drag it down is the superior race, which is clearly a commentary on multiple levels. But even that, because it feels so applicable to today's world, you're like, okay, yeah, all right. I'm just wondering why contemporary people
I think that would have felt absurd at the moment.
Yeah.
But now it's just like, that's also just...
Okay, that's also on the news. Okay, got it. Great. Okay, do you think if Trump could get somebody else to speak for him? That's basically what is happening. Trump is talk. Trump is talk for... Oh my God, we don't normally explicitly take what we're talking about. If there was a country that had a leader that was basically a mouthpiece for other people that thought they were too superior to actually engage directly with the public...
The inferiors?
That person would be talk if that person were to exist and had not been specifically just called out on this podcast. Paul Williams, who plays Talk, is actually the most famous fucking person in this entire episode.
Right?
I fucking love it. He wrote Rainbow Connection. He is the musical artist responsible for writing Rainbow Connection. He has written a ton of shit, but that's one big one. He is an American actor, songwriter, composer. I'm just going to put what they put at the top of the IMDb. He's best known for his work as a songwriter over the years, writing songs that have been recorded by artists like Three Dog Night, Elvis Presley, Frank Sinatra. He also wrote the score for movies like The Muppet Movie, one of my favorite movies.
The Secret of Nim, one of my favorite movies.
And Rocky IV, which is, it exists. He also played in Smokey and the Bandit. He was Little Enos in Smokey and the Bandit, which is what Smokey is named after, Smokey our cat.
Yeah.
Because she showed up to steal some of our outdoor food for our outdoor cat.
Yeah.
And I started putting the food away. And so she showed up and was like, hey.
Just started screaming at the front door.
I'd like to speak to the manager.
I'm dissatisfied with my
service. He was Tumbleweed Tom in Walker, Texas Ranger. Because who wasn't? And he was also Swan in Phantom of the Paradise. If you haven't seen Phantom of the Paradise and you need like a pick-me-up, go watch Phantom of the Paradise.
And as a justification for why it's valuable to watch it, it's the inspiration for Daft Punk.
Yeah, correct. Yes. And it features like this really cool synthesizer that actually exists and is in this museum, and you can visit it. And they use it as part of the movie. Yeah, it's really cool. And he also played El Sleazo Pianist in the Muppet Movie. Just want to throw that in there. And he was in the Fall Guy TV show,
which maybe we need to
He
cover.
had a lot longer musical credits than acting credits. I just respect that this man has played so many things, and he is fully maybe 4'10". He is quite petite. And in Phantom of the Paradise, he's a sex symbol. There's definitely orgies in Phantom of the Paradise, just throwing that out there. And it's just a good, God, we watched that movie for Chris, for Cinematic Anarchy. And I can't say that I would have ever watched it otherwise. And I'm so happy that I did. So go watch it.
Yeah.
Christopher Darga plays Narn number 1. And I think he's the Narn that they fight, that Jakar has to fight to regain his control over the Narns on Babylon 5.
Okay.
And he is the voice of Kenny Blankenship in Most Extreme Elimination Challenge.
For the American dub?
For all of it, yes. For all episodes that he is the dubbed voice of Kenny Blankenship.
Wow.
I watched so much Most Extreme Elimination Challenge. I can't even begin. It was like my Comedy Central favorite thing to watch. If you've never seen it, I'm deeply sorry. You need to go experience it. It was on Amazon to stream not that long ago. But they took a Japanese game show and they cut it and redubbed it for the US, but not dubbed it like translated it, just put the most random shit over it.
Dubbed it for comedy value.
I'm not sure you could make it today. But as a time
I remember
capsule,
something
it's
within
good.
the last couple years where they were bringing it back as Takeshi's Tower.
Yeah, but I think it
but
was...
it was the more serious version.
I
More
think it
like
was that,
American Gladiator or something.
Right, but also they actually translated it, or it was specifically made to be comedy. This isn't specifically made to be comedy. Right. It's actually just a Japanese game show, and then they dubbed it badly. Not dubbed it badly, but like completely changed what the people are saying. So they're making sex jokes where in reality they're never making sex jokes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things that was fine and it was funny and it's funny to watch now. But if we made it now, we know better.
Right.
Don't do that. Make an actual comedy show. It's fine. And then Glenn Morshower is Frank.
Frank.
He's the guy that Sheridan talks to from the military, from the Earth government. Who's like, yeah, sorry, no, we're not going to help the Narn. And he plays in an Alien Nation movie, one of the TV movies, Body and Soul. He was in a couple episodes of The Secret World of Alex Mack. Which they just made that documentary about the child actor abuse.
Yeah.
In Nickelodeon. Mm-hmm. And I was listening to a podcast about it because they were talking about whether or not Nickelodeon was a cult at the time because Nickelodeon was so big. Mm-hmm. And I think actually a lot of the stars and television shows that we watched predate the time period that's covered in the documentary.
Okay.
Because there's one specific guy, of course it's endemic in the system, but there was one specific person who was responsible for a lot of the...
That environment selects for the kind of person it emphasizes the kind of influence that kind of person can exploit.
Right. So
they tend to bubble up.
I still like The Secret World of Alex Mack. I thought that she has superpowers. Come on. Of course I was going to watch that. Mm-hmm. And then he's also in a couple episodes of The Crow: Stairway to Heaven, which is the television show, which stars the guy who now plays one of the chairman, I think, on Iron Chef is the guy who plays the Crow.
Oh, really?
The Crow Stairway to Heaven, yes. He played in Walker, Texas Ranger, the TV movie, Trial by Fire. And he was in 24 as Aaron Pierce. And he played in like 49 episodes of 24. So he was a long-running character.
Almost just over 2 days.
You're correct. Yes, that was the premise of 24, was that each episode was actually an hour long, which at the time was like, oh, it's so good. Oh, Kiefer. Oh, he's so... And then I had to watch an episode for Garrett Can Get It. And it was so bad.
I tried watching
like
24.
People and it's only an hour long.
I tried watching the first season of 24. I didn't enjoy that much.
No. And then there's that one. It's fine. There's a whole other podcast. It's fine. And then he's General Morshower in pretty much every Transformers movie.
Okay.
In the whole franchise. And he played in Preacher. Ian Abercrombie is the guy that plays Corella Merzen, the taller of the Luminati race. He was in the original Battlestar Galactica. He was also in Airwolf, which famously I almost died trying to watch because it was just it's just so bad. He was also in a movie called Test Tube Teens from the year 2000.
What?
I love just the random movies that people are in. I'm like, what? Test Tube Teens from the year 2000? It's from like 1980 something.
Okay.
When 2000 was like the future.
Right.
So future. And he was also Alfred Pennyworth in the Birds of Prey TV series. And he was in an episode of Moonlight. I was like, Moonlight. Maybe we need to do Moonlight and add it to Come in 81 Kilo as the 4th season of Forever Night. And of course, Catherine Cressida.
The spiritual successor.
Yeah, the spiritual, but yet worse successor of Forever Night. And Catherine Cressida reprises her role as Kat the bartender.
Okay.
JMS speaks on this one. He said, on an unrelated note, just finished another script tonight, Acts of Sacrifice, which despite its rather ominous title is more of a slice of life episode. That's why I'm thinking at the time, this felt like filler. It felt frivolous.
Full tilt wacko.
Yeah. He's like, it contains one of the funkiest, weirdest sequences that I have ever written. Correct. I would agree. The sex scene at the end is probably the weirdest part of Babylon 5 so far. But he felt this was a slice of life episode, and we're watching this like, ooh, ah, ooh, ooh, ah, ooh. It hits different. Yeah. I think it hit different in the 90s. I think in 95 when this aired, you were like, wow, this is so overblown. This is so over the top.
Right. The political topics are so outrageous.
Yeah, this is never what would happen. They would all, and you know what? In your Star Trek, you're Star Trek'd. You're like built, our sci-fi sensibilities are built by Star Trek at this point. And in Star Trek, the good guys always win. The good guys always win. So no civilization is going to say, hey, this bully civilization is coming and destroying my people.
The Federation, aka Space Police, are going to come intervene.
As long as they have warp technology.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they're covered under the Prime Directive and they can't interfere.
Right.
Oh, almost as if that's also a commentary. You can't interfere with inferior races, even if it is to save their lives.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I think probably that's why this didn't go over well, because you're like, oh, come on. No one's helping the Narn. Really? And then he's like, the Narn were not out in space prior to the Centauri arriving. So he clarifies that when the Centauri arrived, the Narn were literally just like
Agrarian.
They were farmers. They were just living their lives.
Yeah. They had language and books and stuff, but
they were not militaristic.
And they were not spacefaring.
No. And so this race shows up out of the stars, subjugates you. And then as a reaction, you have to be strong, because if you're not strong, that could happen to you again. And yet being strong is what makes this happen to you again.
Right.
Oh, God. Oh, and he did say when Paul Williams was on the set, he had him sign his Phantom of the Paradise soundtrack. Power. There were not any good trivia for this episode. Except that apparently Claudia Christian came to JMS and asked that her character be funnier. She wanted more time for levity.
Yeah.
Because you can keep her the same way. Like Ivanova can be Ivanova. I'm happy with Ivanova, but like I think Ivanova should have more funny moments. Like I think Ivanova shouldn't just be stoic, mad Russian lady. And so, to be fair, he did. She does get Matt was sitting with his head in his hands. He refused to watch this scene.
So hard to watch.
So I think that's why we've been seeing more levity moments with her, and probably why she's softer with Sheridan than she was with Sinclair. Because it gives us the opportunity to have more comedy. Because when we open on a space battle. And it's the Centauri versus the Narn space battle.
Right.
Oh, and we're inside the control of this giant ship. This
Narn
big
ship.
War cruiser. And he's like, okay, are we ready to jump? And they're like, yeah, we can go if we go right now, but I'm picking up a distress signal and it's one of our evacuation transports. And he's like, what do you mean? They didn't get out with the rest? Shruck. How many? And Matt totally distracted me during this. We had to stop, rewind, go back and watch it again because it's supposed to be a really dramatic moment. And he was like,
well, but there's these odd shapes on the Narn outfits that have this like similar texture and patterning
to their skin.
To their skin.
Matt was like, is that flesh? Do they have like growths? What is on their chest?
Is that a goiter? No, it's not a goiter.
I said it was an self-inflation device so that if they get ejected into space, they can float. He went, oh, yeah. Like it's
probably just their like 0G harness.
It's fine.
To keep them in their chairs.
It's their battle, whatever. It may even be like Kevlar. Like it absorbs electrical impulses or something. So if you get shot with a PPG, it doesn't hit you.
Yeah, I don't know if this is armor or if this is just the harness for their chair and it's just supposed to look padded. I just thought it was weird that it had the same patterning as their skin.
Yeah.
So it looked like flesh blobs.
If you're going to put something soft and puffy next to somebody's skin, it's got to be a different texture. Otherwise, it looks like part of their skin. And they're wearing it later, too. There's somebody wearing it later. When those two Narn are at the bar and the Centauri are talking shit behind them, one of the guys is wearing it.
Okay.
So I think it's supposed to be like a flight uniform.
It could be their flight suit, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm with you in that, like, we could have made it a different color. Especially if you're going to make everything red. So we lose a lot of color. It could be when we see it. Oh,
yeah, it could be a different color.
When we see it at the bar, it's a lot lighter than the guy's skin. So it's very clear
but
it's
on the
part
ship,
of his uniform.
We only have red lights.
Right, so it looks like his skin. But they keep going. They're like, yeah, there's 700 of our females and children. Oh, so the ones that matter.
I saw 2 civilian transports.
Yeah.
One gets shot almost immediately and blows up.
Right.
But then the cruiser kind of turns so that their widest aspect ratio is facing the Centauri, whatever they call them, and blocking the line of sight from the Centauri ships to the civilian transport so that the civilian transport can get through the warp gateway.
He says put us between the civilians and the war cruiser because they're like, yeah, we got 700 people and the Centauri are closing in on their position. And he's like, okay, put us between them and the civilians so that the civilians can escape through the gate. And they do. And then the transport does make it through the gate and they're like, oh, she's safe. We're safe. It's good. And then the Centauri start firing at them. And the captain looks directly at the camera with this look like, what I fucking tell you. Look what they're doing.
This really worried look that I wasn't sure if he was looking at the person like down into his right, which there is a person there, but the camera's also really close to that person. So it kind of looks like he's breaking the fourth wall.
I actually think he's supposed to be looking at a camera. Because then when we zoom out, it's Jakar showing the Babylon 5 staff everything that happened in this battle. So someone has transmitted a recording. So he's breaking the fourth wall
to whoever's going to be viewing that recording.
Right. You know how in like Instagram Reels sometimes they film while they're driving and it's clearly like the camera is in front of them.
Yeah.
And they're either sitting in their car or they're driving and they're filming like that.
Yeah.
So I think there's a camera in the cockpit.
Okay.
It wouldn't necessarily zoom in on him like it does, unless it's programmed for drama.
Natoth edited it for dramatic effect.
Maybe it's like our portal, RIP portal, when Facebook was like, what if I make a messenger machine that just lets people FaceTime each other?
Yeah.
And I'll put this really cool camera that will track you around the room and zoom in on you when you look at the camera and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And that was so nice. And they were like, yeah, okay, so we're shutting that down.
Google Meet does that in software now.
It was a sad moment.
A lot of them have auto framing now.
Well,
but
it had it a long time ago and it was really nice. So maybe it's like that. When you look directly at the camera, it zooms in on you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he did so that he would get his face. It kind of reminds me of, and I don't want to cheapen this moment, but also that scene where the Native American guy from that commercial from the 90s, or is it the 80s, where the Native American guy is walking around the field full of trash and he looks at the camera and it zooms in on his face and a single tear falls down his cheek.
Mm-hmm.
That was the vibe. That was the vibe of that moment. Because then we go back and it's Jakar and it's dark and he goes,
and the Narn cruiser gets blown up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Everybody dies. And he goes, 5,000 of my people died in the battle you have just seen. The Centauri attacked without warning despite their promise not to strike civilian targets. And that's the moment in this episode when I was like, oh no, this is going to be one that hurts. This one's going to hurt. It did. He's like, had our ships not arrived in time or made their sacrifice to save the civilians, they would have slaughtered everyone. Females, children, the old, the infirm, everyone.
The Centauri attacked without warning, despite their promise not to strike civilian targets. Had our ships not arrived in time, had they not made the supreme sacrifice to save the colony's civilian population, the Centauri would have slaughtered everyone. Females, children, the old, the infirm, everyone, without cause.
I thought Londo was going to be here to make a rebuttal.
He's issued a statement saying that his government didn't break its promise. He accuses the Narns of deliberately placing military targets within the civilian population in order to use their own people as shields.
And they're like, well, I thought Londo was going to say something. And he's like, yeah, he did. He issued a statement saying his government didn't break its promise and accusing the Narn of placing military targets within the civilian population to use their own people as shields.
Which today feels way too close to reality.
It hurt. That's why they're bombing hospitals and schools and reducing entire cities to rubble and shit, because you shouldn't harbor the bad guys. You shouldn't. It's their fault. I just,
I'm not drunk enough to rant about this right now.
It's fine. I wanted to just take a moment so we all know what we're fucking talking about and then just reel it back. He said he should also said the escaping transport contained weapons.
Not people.
Not refugees.
Yeah.
And Jakar's like, well, that's a lie. That's a fucking lie. Surely you must see that. And you know what they don't do? Agree with Jakar.
Nope.
They do not go, it's okay, Jakar. We believe you. All Sheridan says is, everyone in this room knows too well that the first casualty of war is always the truth. And then he says, unfortunately, the rest tend to be too small or too weak to defend themselves. And I don't really understand what that sentence relates to anything that he said previously. Is he talking about
the other casualties of war?
Well, he just says the first casualty of war is always the truth. And then he's talking about everyone in this room. So he's saying the rest, as in everyone who doesn't know that the first casualty of war is always the truth, are the people that are too small or too weak to defend themselves?
I think it's the other casualties of war are too small or weak to defend themselves.
Okay.
Like the women and the children, too.
Yeah. I don't know. It's not the greatest line. It's sort of orphaned. It's like there was one in between and they cut it out. And it ultimately doesn't make as much sense.
So Jakar says, so you believe me?
No.
You'll intervene.
He goes, then you believe me? You'll intervene? The hope in his voice. Andreas has to turn it up for this episode.
This whole episode, Andreas is selling it.
When he goes, you believe me? You'll intervene? You're like, oh, God. And Sheridan wants to be like, hell yeah, let's get those bitches. And Ivanova's like, look at me. And he has to go, I can't promise anything, but I'll talk to my government. And Jakar's like, really? Honestly? That's all I'm asking. Like, just
and I think this is one of the most nuanced perspectives on Jakar that we've seen so far.
This is probably why
the most diplomatic.
This is probably why I struggle so much with those romantasy books that I have to read for some of the other podcasts that we do, because the way that they portray politics is so heavy-handed.
Yeah.
They're like, well, I'm bigger than you and I'm stronger, so I'm just going to do what I want anyway. And everyone's like, oh my God, you are bigger and stronger. You're right. We're going to do what you want because you're hot and you have fire powers. And that's basically politics in most of the books that I read. And it gets to be like, ugh.
Right. And in this situation, the Jakar position wouldn't say, that's all I ask. Like, thank you. Thank you for just saying that you will discuss this with your government.
Yeah.
They would say, well, then fuck you. I'm going to escalate things even more.
Yeah, I guess I'll force them to have to take a stand.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're going to write politics, fine, write politics. If you're bad at politics, get help, seek assistance. And, you know, I'm not one that loves a good political book. There's that book series that we started that I really liked called the Imager Saga or the Imager Cycle.
Yeah.
And I thought the magic system in it was so good and so interesting. And I still think about it, but he was immediately like, what if we pivoted from magic and made this an entirely political story? And it was literally just people in rooms talking politics for books and books and books and books and books. Would you like that?
Did you ever finish it? I finished the series.
No, I couldn't because it was like, oh, they immediately send him off to be part of the government. I was like, fuck this. I don't love I like a dash of politics. I like a sousson of politics.
It ends with a patent office.
Fucking right. Right?
They basically have an industrial revolution, unions, and a patent office.
Okay, well.
That's how the
I feel
series
even better
ends.
about my choices. Okay. I like a sousson of politics, right?
Right.
But if you're gonna dabble well.
Yeah.
All right. And if you're not gonna do it well, leave it out. Don't make anybody kings or queens or anything. Make it a small conflict.
Yeah.
Or get an editor that can help you with politics. But like, this is so good because G'Kar is trying to tread lightly. G'Kar is trying to gain allies when he has spent the rest of his time on Babylon 5 isolating everyone and posturing.
Right.
And now he's trying to be politic. He's trying to set aside his own
priorities.
Not priorities, but like alpha male status, I guess.
Yeah.
He was a podcast bro, okay? He was an alpha male podcast bro. He's been podcasting about how he's a high value person. The Narns are high value people. The Centauri are not high value, and that's why we should be able to do whatever we want to. Mm-hmm. And he's been using that as his position of strength. He's been the Jerogan of Babylon 5, of his people for a really long time. And the minute he saw that it but that it didn't help and it didn't stop the Centauri from being aggressive and maybe even encouraged them to be aggressive when they wouldn't have. Mm-hmm. Like, would Londo have turned around and ordered the death of 250,000 Narn if we hadn't gone through the Ragesh 3 thing where his nephew was kidnapped and coerced into saying that they wanted to be invaded and they wanted to be taken over by the Narn?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We don't know what would have happened if that series of events had not occurred. But was it a contributing factor? Highly likely.
Yeah.
And so, to G'Kar's credit, the minute he realized that he's implicit in creating this culture of violence between the Centauri and the Narn, he pivots.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, I'm going to try diplomacy because we can't do this on our own. It's becoming increasingly evident that we thought we were strong, but what we were really working with was just like the leftovers, the Centauri leftovers.
Yeah.
And they're not as technologically advanced as they have been portrayed. Right. Because they were not a spacefaring race until 100 years ago.
Right.
So they are no more advanced than Earth, and possibly even less so because they had to start from such a disadvantage.
Right. But they spend a much larger percentage of their available resources on military stuff than the Centauri do. But the Centauri have a lot more resources overall.
They've been a military society for as long as they can remember culturally.
Right.
They've peaked and come down from their peak already.
Right, but they're also like a decadent pride culture. So a large percentage of their resources go toward hedonism.
Yeah, now.
Right. And so that's why they're able to compete at all with the Narns with the Centauri, is because the Centauri have developed into this very, like, I have to present myself as successful and wealthy as like an individual level competition with other Centauri.
They were a society in decline.
Yeah.
They were like the fall of the Roman Empire. Like the peak of the Roman Empire, and then it's been divided, and now it's just Italy. And they're like, but they're still pretending they're Romans. And that's That's where they were. And I don't think because the Narn are such a young race, such a young spacefaring race.
They're still unified.
And so they're so new to this military style of government and living their lives that they didn't recognize, I don't think, that the Centauri were just letting them do what they wanted to do in the same way that when you're old and tired, you just let a kid play with your shit. And that's fine.
Yeah.
And now they're realizing that. And to create a character that can believably pivot from where G'Kar was to where G'Kar is in this episode is like chef's kiss. This is so good that you create this character that immediately recognizes, okay, shit, I got to change tack. And he does. Yeah. And he's like, you're going to help? You can help? Like I'm asking for help. This is me asking for help. This is huge.
Yeah.
I have at most demanded obedience up until this point. And now I'm asking for cooperation. And I'll take what I can get. Because Sheridan's like, I mean, the best I can do is talk to them. And he's like, great, thank you. I literally can't ask you to do any more than that. Thank you. This, in contrast to the guy who a couple episodes ago was like, you can't let the Centauri Emperor be here. I'm going to be real, real mad if you let the Centauri Emperor come here. Big mad.
Right.
And now he's like, thank you. Thank you for sending an email. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And then we cut to a ship because G'Kar leaves and Sheridan gets a call and they're like, oh, that ship you were waiting for is coming out of hyperspace. And he's like, great, cool. And so they go. And this is when we introduce the B plot.
The Lumati.
I'm not going to divide this up because I'm just not going to divide this up because I want to talk about things as we go. And we're going to need each moment from different plot lines is going to give us a break from the previous plot line. And I think it does it in the episode. And I think it's going to do it in our episode too. So we're going to leave it separated. But this is the Illuminati. So because there's Lumati. Okay, whatever. Also the Illuminati. And because there's this escalation of conflict in the universe, and because Earth has been perceiving that we need to be strong because there's an escalation of conflict, and so everybody else is like, oh no, Earth is fortifying itself, we should probably also escalate. And it's creating a feedback loop of escalation. We've decided that we need to get this advanced civilization on our side. And so this incredibly advanced civilization sends one guy and his little buddy to Babylon 5 to negotiate for the entire race. And
whether the Lumati will join the list of governments that participate in Babylon 5.
Yeah, I guess. And they leave all of this up to
they're basically just
Ivanova.
saying, yes, I will join. I'll join your club. I'll come to your club meetings.
Yes, that's what they just want him to start coming to the club meetings.
Yeah.
And they leave this up to Ivanova. She has to try to get them to either become allies or join the League of Non-Aligned Worlds.
Yep.
And Ivanova's like, I don't know. This sounds kind of important. Are you sure you want me to do it? And Sheridan goes, I'm up to my ears in this whole Narn situation. I'm sorry. Is it inconvenient for you? Is the Narn thing inconveniencing you because it's making you real busy?
Well, I can see from Sheridan's perspective that keeping the Narn Centauri conflict as his top priority and keeping himself available to respond at short notice to any developments in the Narn Centauri situation is a higher priority than bringing in this new civilization into the club as an essentially neutral party.
I get it.
If they weren't in the middle of, if there weren't like active battles in the Narn Centauri conflict, Sheridan probably would have, and actual like fights breaking out on the station, Sheridan would have led the Lumati thing.
Yeah.
But as an active mediator in an ongoing war with
he can't divide his
fights
attention.
breaking out and and actual battles.
Oh, I get it. It's the situation statement.
Right.
That I
Sheridan
rejected.
has to. The
description of it as the situation.
Yeah.
That Londo and Jakar's situationship. I have to keep on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. And he says, consider it one more step in learning the fine art of diplomacy. And
on another note about Sheridan's phrasing.
Yeah.
We don't have any important ships coming.
Yeah.
So he's implying there's no ships coming that require your direct attention.
Right.
But would the ships coming to Babylon 5 be happy to hear Sheridan describe them as unimportant?
This is probably a familect thing. So, when you spend enough time with a group of people or a family or whatever, your chosen family, whatever, you develop a manner of speaking that is unique to your group.
Mm-hmm.
And it's referred to as a familect. And so I think this is probably a familect thing where between Ivanova...
It's definitely a conciseness thing.
Well, between Ivanova and Sheridan, these are all understood phrases.
Right. When he says important, what he means is there's no ships coming in the next few days that will require your direct interaction to make things go smoothly. Right. It's just standard traffic. That's what he means by important.
Right.
But
when you remove it from its context, it is a little...
out of context.
It's a little...
The phrasings.
A little gauche, but it's fine. He just means it as, there's nothing that's going to take your personal attention. You should be good to go. And you're free to stick with it until you're finished. So do whatever you have to, just get them to sign on. And she's like, will do, Captain. And JMS specifically addressed whether or not he would have requested Sheridan have sex with him had Sheridan been the one to head it. And he goes, yeah, it was just whoever he was working with.
Right. And they describe it later like handshakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would have been Sheridan if it hadn't been Ivanova. So it's not specifically because Ivanova's a hot chick. It's because we seal the deal with sex.
Right.
So yeah, it would have been Sheridan. I want to see that cut. I want to see what Sheridan would have done. Would a guy have just been like, okay. Sure. It's been a while. My wife's been dead for 2 years. This could go well. I don't know. I'm just kidding. It would depend on Sheridan. Maybe Garibaldi. I think Riker would have.
Yeah.
Riker would have been like, this is my kind of deal. I'm all for this. I'm ready for that crossover. And then we go to the intro. We've made it to the intro. Way faster than last time. 14 minutes faster than last time. And then we come back. And it is Jakar showing the same video to Delenn. And she's like, ooh, yeah, no, I found that deeply distressing. There's no excuse, political or military, for this deliberate killing of civilians. And Jakar's like, cool, then you'll help us? Your people will come to our side? It would mean a great deal to my world, Delenn. And I said, wow, what a terrible time to have just been exiled to Babylon 5 and removed from the council. And Jakar makes a good point. He's like, the war is young. The Centauri are still kind of figuring out where they want all their forces. Everything's not in full swing. So there are people in their government who are still not sure if this is what they want to do. They just need a reason to not continue the fight. So we just get, if the Minbari just show up and throw their weight around, we can get them to back off.
Right. You might not even have to shoot anybody. Just show up and say, hey, calm down, kids.
Yeah. It's like, you could save hundreds of thousands of lives. And she goes, Narn lives? And he's like, yeah, and Centauri. You'd save a lot of lives, like bunches and bunches.
Por qué no los dos?
And then she says, but you said many times that you would never rest until the Centauri had been utterly destroyed.
If the Minbari intervene, you could provide that reason. You could save hundreds of thousands of lives.
Narn lives.
And Centauri.
But you said many times that you would never rest until the Centauri had been utterly destroyed. So do we help you now? Knowing that in a few years, when your forces are at full strength, the Centauri will ask us for help against you. You must know your actions in the recent past, the things you've said, they make it difficult for anyone to come to your aid now.
I know.
So do we help you now? Knowing that in a few years, when you guys are recovered, you're going to turn around and start shit again? She goes, you have to know that your actions in the past, the shit that you've said, is going to make it difficult for anybody to come to your aid now.
Uh-oh. The conces are quencing.
My God. This moment where she's like, yeah, but you've been a real dick about this. You know that, right?
You're in your find out phase.
And he goes, I know. I know. I know. Oh my God. To create this character, who I don't think you're going to argue with me about this because you didn't, is the podcast bro of the Centauri, right?
Right.
He's the like spiritual leader, the propaganda leader.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one who's been like, strength, fight, stick it to the Centauri.
Mm-hmm.
And then for her to be like, you realize that is why we can't listen to you now. Almost as if there's no amount of context for what you said in the past that changes the meaning of the thing you said.
Right.
Like if I pulled any quote from your past, Jakar, it looks bad. And it doesn't matter what I add around it. It looks bad. And he literally goes, yeah, I know. Yeah. I know. I did that. That's me. I own that. But what else could I do? What else could I do? When you've been crushed beneath the wheel for as long as we have, revenge becomes your every waking thought. And everything else that had been taken from us, our hatred is what kept us alive. And she's like, yeah, but now it's going to destroy you. Maybe you should have collectively gone to therapy. I don't know. Like that, I get it, but it doesn't, the optics aren't good.
Right. The hatred, the revenge is a valid trauma response to being subjugated, but to grow as a people, as a person, as an individual, as a society, you have to move beyond that.
Yeah, because the hallmark of unhealed trauma is the desire to pass it on.
Yep.
And so you've been living in that moment, and now that's going to come back, and it's going to come back to haunt you.
Right.
And he goes, do you want me to beg Delenn? Is that it? And she's like, oh my God, no. Don't do that. And he's like, well, then what is it?
Right. And he's willing to do it.
And then she drops some lore in the middle of this. She goes, I was there when our war against the Earth began. When our ship encountered an Earth vessel for the first time, afraid of us, they fired. And I saw our leader dying. I heard the cries for revenge. And in return, we nearly exterminated an entire species. My people are tired of war, Jakar.
Some of them.
I mean, I'm tired of war, Jakar. My people should be tired of war. We cannot ask them to go through all that again. And he's like, great, then I'm alone. Then we got to face the Centauri alone. She's like, no, not alone. We can
mediate.
We can like hold your pencil and stuff. I don't know. Like we can help. We can put political pressure on them. We can issue sanctions.
Yes.
And he's like,
we can send strongly worded letters on your behalf.
I could send a strongly worded missive and hope it's for the best. He goes, there's nothing to mediate unless others choose to become involved. Either they're going to destroy us or we're going to destroy them. They are a dying people and we should let them pass, is what Kosh said. Who, the Narn or the Centauri? Yes. He goes, thank you for the tea, Delenn, and your honesty. God, that was such a charged moment. There was so much in there. And the one thing that they've changed.
Such a slice of life moment.
I know. He's like, oh, this is just like a fun day in the life. Just, people being people, shit hanging out,
We are seeing a lot more of the behind the scenes, like diplomacy efforts going on.
Yeah, they do drink a lot of tea. Delenn gives him tea, and then later Ivanova gives, not Talk, the other guy, tea.
Yeah.
JMS, what do you think is a slice of life? What happens in your day-to-day life?
Maybe compared to JMS's personal life history.
Yeah.
This is slice of life.
I think it's like there's no big battles, no wars start, no There's no dramatic prophecy. Nobody gets kicked off the Grey Council. It's literally just people having meetings. Mm-hmm. And it just feels consequential to us because it's so relatable to what's happening.
Yeah.
In our day-to-day lives. But in 1995, you would have been like, oh, okay, politics episode. Okay, great.
Yeah, it's barely even worth me like entertaining the ideas of the political topics they're discussing.
Yeah.
Because they're so far removed from
my day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. And this is when we go to the Centauri and the Narn in the casino. And there's some douchebag Centauri guys. They're like, yeah, return of glory.
This Centauri guy, I mean, he sells being a jackass.
Yeah, he's making Centauri great again. That's what he's doing. Mm-hmm. He's a maca. He's like, we should have done this a long time ago. The Narns are like the Nutoks, loud and smelly. They raise their horns and stomp their feet, but they don't have any teeth.
Yep.
It's a kindness to put them out of their misery.
Is it?
And then one of the Centauri guys throws a bottle at his head, which totally feels justified.
The Narns?
No, the Narns, sorry.
Yeah, the Narns throw
there's
a
some
bottle.
Narns at the bar, and they turn and throw a bottle at the Centauri guy. And Zach has to step in and be like, all right, break it up. And they're like, he threw a bottle at us. And they're like, yeah, well, he was throwing insults at us.
Why it's necessary to like have a legal recognition of inflammatory and hate speech.
Yeah.
So that you can use that. Like
as an attack.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. They were verbally assaulting the Narns.
Yeah.
True.
Correct.
True. Is it moral or ethical for the Narn to respond in kind physically? Not if their goal is maintaining peace on Babylon 5, but
right.
They're not. These are just the regular civilians on Babylon 5.
Yeah. They're not thinking about the larger ramifications of them starting shit.
Yeah.
They're just like...
They're just trying to have a drink at the bar.
Having, like... Was it 2 episodes ago the entire casino broke into a fight for no fucking reason?
Mm-hmm.
Like that. That's exactly what they're thinking. No average individual is like, this is going to affect the larger conflict.
Right.
Between the Centauri and the Narn. They're just like, we have to, in this moment, I'm pissed.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like how coercive control is considered abuse in every country but the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Where in the U.S., a husband is allowed to restrict their wives' movement and finances, and all of that is fine. It's considered not abuse. And yeah, if the Centauri are back there deliberately, vocally provoking the Narn.
Yeah, I just labeled this guy as instigator.
Well, the problem is that the Narn could not then go to Zach and be like, they're shouting hate speech at us.
Right.
He would go, okay, but they haven't touched you. I can't do anything about that.
Right.
There's nothing I can do to that. Sorry. Not sorry. I don't know. There's nothing I can't stop them from yelling at you.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. This is such a sticky situation because it requires a very specific definition of hate speech.
Right.
Because you have to be able to, you can't subjectively evaluate each individual hate speech moment. Mm-hmm. Because it's kind of like if you wreck your car and you get a insurance adjuster who's having a shit day, you could get half the value of your car that you would get from another insurance adjuster.
Right.
If you got the right ombudsman on Babylon 5, they might consider that an act of aggression, the hate speech. But if you got the wrong ombudsman, he could be like, well, they were just talking. They were just at the bar. It's just boys being boys.
Mm-hmm.
They're just being boys.
They're exercising their right to free
speech. They were
speech.
drunk. It's fine. It's just free speech. What are you mad about?
They weren't inciting violence. That's not...
So this is why it becomes such a sticky problem. Mm-hmm. Because who was in the wrong in this situation? And that's not an easily answered question. Should the Centauri have not been talking shit? Yeah, but the Narn could have just walked away where they couldn't hear them. But should they have to leave? Should they not be allowed to stay at the casino because there's people in there who are shit-talking them? We're not going to answer that question on this podcast because we haven't answered that question as a society. Personally speaking, I think the Centauri are in the wrong, and that, of course, the Narn shouldn't have thrown a bottle at them, but they should have been able to go to security and at least had Londo talk to them and be like, quit starting shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Get your people to back the fuck off.
Right. Because Sheridan ends up having a personal meeting with G'Kar to talk about getting the Narn to hold it together. But then he just sends an email to Londo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sending him the same message. No, you should have had Londo have a personal meeting with you too. It's fine. In the context of the story that we're watching on TV, it's fine. But it's so hard to navigate these situations. And that's why we're just going to put that on the table as this is all some bullshit. And then we come back and it is Ivanova greeting Corella Merzin of the Lumati. And she's like, cool. And you are? And she turns to the taller guy and he's like, I'm Corella Merzin of the Illuminati. And she's like, yeah, no, I know that. I was asking. And he's like, oh, no. This is my buddy, my servitor, and he's my translator. I speak through him. She's like, oh my God, can you not talk? Of course I can fucking talk, but I'm not going to talk to an inferior race.
It would represent a loss of face.
Yeah. Before I can speak to you directly, I must determine if you are worthy. And he goes, if so, we may even allow others of my kind to honor you with their presence. And she goes, oh, wow, isn't that wonderful? And I said, yes, Ivanova is definitely the right choice for this.
And I like her deliberate sigh.
Like,
as she walks off screen.
Yeah. She says, I guess the best way for you to start your evaluation would be to take you around the station. They're like, yep, that's good. Great. And then they walk off and she's like, wonderful. Right. Okay. Perfect. And then we come back and it is Londo. And this is the first time we have debuted the Londo's new suit. Did you notice? It's a little bit simpler, a little bit more militaristic, and a lot darker.
Yeah.
And he's going to wear this
and I think
much
the
for the
brooch
rest
is
of it.
bigger.
Yeah. He's going to wear this for a long, long time. So he's gone from being the buffoon, the brightly colored buffoon, to a general, a military leader,
Didn't he get elevated in the...
I don't think we've talked about that. He's still just ambassador.
Right,
Londo.
but...
No, he hasn't received any official rewards or anything.
Oh, I thought he got elevated in the... whatever their social structure is.
No, I don't think so.
I thought he got elevated to the highest rank that's outside the nobility.
Wow, no. Did you have a dream or something? They celebrate his elevation day or his ascension day or whatever. But that's just like a birthday, but it's like a politics birthday. But it's not him getting ascended to anything.
No, not his ascension day. It was when the emperor came.
Yeah, no, he never even talked to him directly.
Okay.
I mean, you want to look it up? But it's Londo talking to this importer. He's like, I've just been having a hard time getting our imports back to Centauri Prime before they spoil. There's so many paperwork and delays and
tariffs.
The constant payment to certain individuals to expedite the process, a.k.a. tariffs. And he goes, it's ruining my business.
Tariffs that you can have turned off if you buy enough cryptocurrency.
Right. Totally unprecedented. And he goes, a word or two from you spoken into the right ears, would make all the difference. Your opinions carry much weight back home, Ambassador. Oh, and a man of your prominence must have refined and exotic tastes. And we're so far from home. And certain things are so hard to obtain, and sometimes they're even technically illegal. But, in exchange for your help, I could
hook you up.
I could arrange for a few of those things to find their way to you. And, look.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more.
Is bribable.
Oh.
Because he's like, all right, I'll make a few discreet inquiries, which they do mention the Jaquaneth plants, which we haven't talked about in a while.
Because Londo has, in the past, seen it as very valuable, personally, to possess a Jaquaneth
Plus, if
plant.
you put the seeds in alcohol, you get real high.
Yep.
Yeah. He's like, oh my God, thank you, Ambassador. And then Veer pops up and he's like, should I put that in with the rest? Should I add him to the list? And Londo goes, 6 months ago, nobody knew who I was. And now everybody's my friend, but they all want something. He goes, I wanted respect.
Instead, I have turned into a wishing well with legs.
Shall I log this in with the rest?
6 months ago, they were hardly aware of me. Now, suddenly, everyone is my friend. Everyone wants something. I wanted respect. Instead, I have turned into a wishing well with legs.
I'd feel bad for him, but... And JMS actually mentioned that Londo is one of the most challenging characters to write because he doesn't want him or didn't want him to become just a hateable character.
Right.
He wanted you to love Londo and hate what he was becoming.
Right.
Hate his choices, but never hate him.
Right.
And I think he does it. And it's masterful is what it is.
Yeah.
Because Londo is going to do some real fucked up shit. And the whole time you're like, no, Londo, not you. Oh, come on, Londo. Make better choices. And it's because he never failed to give us these small moments with Londo.
Right.
This is where it's really kind of slice of life.
Right.
And it's good slice of life because it's like Londo isn't all just ordering Morden to commit genocide. He's also, I don't have any real friends anymore. I literally don't have anybody. I've lost everything that really mattered. I don't have anymore. And everything I thought I wanted, I got, and I don't actually want it.
Yep.
And he goes, I'm tired, Veer. Go tell the others to come back tomorrow. And this is when we come back to the Narn and the Centauri guys from earlier, and they get into a fight, kind of, where... Is it the Narn who attacked the Centauri?
It's the Centauri instigator.
Yeah.
Just insulting the Narn.
He's like, oh, the mighty Narn.
Inciting violence.
Yeah. And Zach pops in, and then the guy picks up a pipe. The Narn guy picks up a pipe, and he's like, put it down. Put it down. And then he ends up pulling out.
But then the Centauri instigator is behind Zach, like, taunting him.
Yeah.
Continuing to taunt the Narn that has the pipe.
JMS, I'm mad you put this in here and that we have to talk about it. Not mad because it's not something I want to talk about, but because this is such a huge issue and it has so much, I hate to say the word context, but that's not, I guess context isn't really, has nuance. As to who is in the wrong here. Is the Centauri guy in the wrong? Absolutely. I think so. But is the Narn guy in the wrong is the only real question. Obviously, the person spouting hate speech and instigating violence is 100% across the board. Always an asshole and always should be treated like one.
And in defense of the Narn, they are constantly being instigated by the Centauri, and the authorities are not actually doing anything.
Right. That is the real
part of the
question.
social contract for having a law enforcement structure in your society. Part of the social contract is I get to avoid the whole eye for an eye revenge thing when somebody wrongs me. I can hand that responsibility for responding to a wrongdoing. I can pass that responsibility off to the legal justice system, and I have to trust that the system is going to actually resolve the problem so that I can give up the responsibility for responding to violence. And the legal justice system, in I don't know, like modern Western society, there's this whole idea that the government has a monopoly on violence.
Yeah.
Because of to support this social contract of each individual gets to give up the onus, the responsibility of responding to wrongdoing directly. They get to pass that responsibility off to the government's justice system. But that only works if the justice system is actually enforcing justice.
Right.
And from the Narns' perspective, the justice system on Babylon 5 is not upholding its end of the social contract.
Right.
And so
they have no one to go to.
Right. They backed off. The last time there was a fight, they backed off. Okay, you say you're going to take care of this? Sheridan's talking to Jakar and Londo. Londo and Jakar are ostensibly talking to their people, but it's not working. And so when it just keeps happening and the justice system is not actually doing anything to resolve the problem, the source of the problem, which is the Centauri instigator, the Narns don't have faith that the justice system is going to work. They got to do something.
Right.
So,
when you make peaceful revolution impossible, you make violent
revolution inevitable.
Inevitable. Yeah. This is where I think we just need to pause and have a moment about hate speech here. And I think it's pretty obvious where we stand on most issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's the position of the two people who run this network, aka me and you, that hate speech is never okay.
Nope.
That the people who are actually in the wrong in this situation, in terms of in the morally wrong, the actual instigators are the Centauri, who are throwing racial slurs and hate speech.
The first response to perceived hate speech is education.
Right.
Hey, that's not right to say. Here's why.
That's where I was going
don't
with
do that.
this.
Okay.
That's where I was going with this, was in the future, you know, Babylon 5 written today as a projection into the future is there is a step between law enforcement and nothing.
Right.
Because the only recourse the Narn have are, is it illegal or is it not? Because there's only law enforcement.
Right.
So you need the middle step, which is the mediator. You need the non-armed, I don't know what you would refer to it as, but like you need the step in between. You need to be able to call the people that show up and go, okay, what did they say to you? Well, this is what they said. Okay, play the tape. Okay,
Social
that's
workers.
what they said. Okay. Hey guys, you can't say that shit to them.
This is why it's important to have other social services
besides law enforcement.
Besides just the police, the legal enforcement.
Correct. Yeah. So what you would call would be the social worker or the people that would show up and go, hey, that's hate speech. I'm going to go ahead and take this to Londo so that he can talk to you guys about this, because I don't want to see you saying that kind of stuff again.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's, well, not strictly illegal. It's a thing that should be addressed.
Right.
And so
it's interfering with the efficient, like productive operation of society.
Right.
In this environment.
And I think the problem that it's not what's happening in Babylon 5, but what's happening in the larger world with the large explosion of hate speech. What the internet has become really a means for people to find you and shit on you is what it feels like to me. And the reason that that's not, people are, well, they should be addressing this. They should be cutting down on hate speech. No, they're cash cows. You know that, right? People that hate speech people are cash cows. They farm engagement. Every time you go on there and fight them, that's engagement.
Negative engagement is still engagement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's ad views. That's
get paid
people.
For that.
People sign up just so they can come and argue with the people throwing out the hate speech. And then they get monetized because you are paying attention to them. But on the flip side, you can't not pay attention to them and just let them do whatever. That's where I'm saying this is challenging. Not that hate speech is in any way a gray area. Hate speech is wrong. I feel like that's That's a fairly easy call.
Yeah.
But how you deal with it becomes the gray area.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of these websites where these hate speech is becoming so prolific, they're not doing anything and people are mad they're not doing anything. Well, of course they're not doing anything. You're making them money. These people make them a lot of money. Look at the top performers in, there's, I forget what it's called, but there's that website you can go to where you put in your political views and it will identify your blind spots and it will show you information from your blind spots that you're not seeing. Anyway, it's an eye-opener about how bad it actually is and how much we are siloed and we silo ourselves. And I think it's a reaction to this type of hate speech that is really unpoliced, and you have no way to defend yourself from it. And so that's what's happening with the Narn, is these Centauri are throwing out a lot of instigating speech, a lot of incendiary speech, and they don't have any way to stop them from doing it. So it's interesting because in this episode, it's portrayed as wholly wrong for them to be this aggressive. But you can understand when they don't feel like anyone stands with them, why they feel like they have to make a stand for themselves. And I think it was a much deeper message than JMS was intending.
Yeah.
So, and in the end, G'Kar gets them to stop because he's hoping it will improve his chances of getting them aid, and it doesn't. And so I think that's why he cries at the end, which is like, I did all of this and I didn't even get what I needed.
Right.
Because even he has been failed by the system.
Yeah. It's
Everyone
called
has failed.
ground news.
Ground news. Okay.
Ground news. They correlate news articles from a bunch of different venues.
Yeah.
But rate the venues on political bias. And so then you get kind of a comparison of, here's a really left-leaning outlet that
and what they're saying,
framed
yeah.
it this way. Like, here's their headline, and then here's the far-right ones, and whatever.
Yeah, it's
so
crazy making, but it's good for a little bit of, like, just to dip your toe into and then, like, go touch grass.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Zach ends up shooting the Narn guy and killing him.
Mm-hmm.
Because he comes at him with a pipe and he can't get him to put the weapon down.
Yep.
And then we cut to G'Kar and Sheridan having a moment about it.
Yeah.
Understandably. Because G'Kar's like, the fuck? And Sheridan's like, he had a weapon, he wouldn't put it down. Was it Skittles? Was he wearing his hood up?
He was walking down the street.
Was he just black in public?
Yeah.
Sorry. He was attacked by the Centauri. He had to defend himself, is what G'Kar says.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, but it was your people who started the incident back in the Zocalo, and I'm going to stop you right there, Sheridan. No, it fucking was not.
The physical violence.
The physical violence.
Yes. They were the first to act physically toward the others, but they didn't start shit.
Right. So when G'Kar says, that's not what my sources say. Okay, but they may just be coming at this from different points of view. G'Kar could be like, no, they were literally insulting them. Like, they were deliberately provoking them.
Mm-hmm.
And Sheridan's like, yeah, but they didn't have to participate. They didn't have to be provoked. And you're like, eh. A lot. And he goes, look, G'Kar, we can go round and round about this all night long, figuring out who started what, and it'll take us back 100 years before we're done. I don't know how I feel about Sheridan in this moment. Because he's like, are we going to rehash this old argument? It's going to take us back 100 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Sheridan does have a point that it's not his job to mediate all of this. It's to maintain peace on Babylon 5.
And I understand why he's triggered by this, why he's yelling. But he's supposed to be a diplomat. And this is the second time he's been talking to G'Kar. And he's real informal with G'Kar.
Mm-hmm.
And he's far less informal with Londo, who he perceives as being in a position of higher power.
Yeah.
But with G'Kar, he's like, get your shit together, man. Come on. Don't do this to me. But yells at him. Because he's like, you're asking me for help and I'm doing the best I can, but incidents like this are making my job a lot harder. And Jakar's like, okay, but did you talk to Malari? And he's like, yeah, I sent him an email. I'm sending him the same message. You need to back off. He needs to back off. Everyone needs to back off. Babylon 5 is neutral territory. This is the point that's actually valid. This is neutral territory. You can't fight here.
Right. You're here. You agreed to the terms of service when you
you checked
when
the
you
box.
came onto the station.
Yeah.
That you have an expectation of maintaining neutrality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, they have a right to defend themselves. That's what Jakar says. And he's like, God damn it, Jakar. You are the duly appointed representative of your government. Are you saying that you can't control your own people? And if you can't, let me know, because I'll throw them all the fuck off.
Yeah.
He should also be talking to Londo like this.
Yep.
If you can't get your people to stop saying shit like that and pushing the Narns into fighting them, do I need to kick them all off? And instead, he's only yelling at Jakar. And I'm just going to put that on the table.
Yeah.
As not a great moment. I do think this is supposed to illustrate how politically immature the Narn are.
Mm-hmm.
How less adept they are at navigating this situation.
Yeah.
Because the Centauri are better at slipping through the cracks.
Yes, they are more skilled.
Not in like a good way. No. We're more diplomatic, but
not in a we're making the world a better place kind of way.
No, but in a we know how to get away with shit.
Yeah.
Way. And then we come back to Dr. Franklin and his new victims, staff. This is a whole lot of new staff. What happened to the old staff? We all know what happened to the old staff. But he's like, this allows us to use the
failed
ISOLAB.
their performance reviews.
He explains the ISOLAB, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
The hermetically sealed airlock. They can use it for biological resource, identification of hazardous microorganisms. And then they're going to head down to the infirmary. And he's like, well, go ahead and follow my assistant. I'll be with you momentarily because Ivanova and the Lumati show up. And he's like, oh, hey, guys. And she's like, is this a bad time? And he's like, no, I'm just breaking in some new additions to my collection. I mean, my staff. Welcome to Babylon 5. And she's like, oh, yeah, thank you. So I should explain. This is, and he's like, oh, cool, intracultural symbiosis. I've heard of this sort of thing.
If talk is psychic and that's the value, like
Maybe.
the intracultural symbiosis.
Maybe. Or they're only psychic with like the one guy.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. He goes, this is my first real encounter with it. And he's like, oh, did you say this facility was for the treatment of species other than your own? And Dr. Franklin's like, yep, that's correct. Yeah. And they're like, well, I mean, but why though? Why go through all of this to save the lives of potentially inferior species? I did not need the eugenics conversation inserted in the middle of all the other shit you gave me eugenics and hate speech in one episode. And this is the comic relief. This is the comic relief plot line. I'm gonna die. He goes, evolution is driven by blood. The weak die and the strong survive. By preserving the sick and the wounded of the other races, you pollute the gene pool.
Okay, but
yeah,
at a certain point, your function as a sentient being is distinct from your function just purely biologically.
Yeah.
And regardless of any biological conditions, any sentient individual has the capacity for contributing positively to the culture, the knowledge of the society, right? The culture supersedes the biology.
Yeah. We'll take that up with the Lumati. Because, yeah, this is a moment that happens. And I have to wonder, is this a commentary on JMS's feelings about the Prime Directive?
I think it's a position that is completely plausible to come up when you're interacting with a galactic diversity.
Yeah.
Is it a like philosophical concept that is still unexplored? No, hell no.
No.
No, this has been very thoroughly discussed, and unless your priority is just the baseline like biological viability of an individual, like be an individual being self-sufficient biologically to survive for survival in a very competitive environment for the fundamental resources, that's not the case for most sentient societies.
Yeah.
You're not actually biologically competing for fundamental resources. Once you reach a level of sentience, you get special skill specialization, and then you are using your skill specialization to compete for fundamental resources, not your basic biological functionality. And so for an, quote, advanced race to disregard for an advanced race to disregard the potential contributions of an arbitrary mind purely because
they perceive them as inferior.
They perceive them as biologically inferior, then that seems implausible.
Yeah.
Or unreasonable.
Is this the society that sent off their hairdressers and telephone sanitizers and street cleaners and then ended up dying of a plague spread by inappropriately sanitized telephones?
Maybe.
Okay. I like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy as a whole, but that is my favorite section. The part where he meets that
it's
ship full
such
of people.
a succinct retort to the eugenics line.
It's perfection, right?
Right.
These are the useless people in society.
Right.
Okay, well, yeah, until they're not there, and then how fucking useless are they actually going to be?
Right.
Somebody's got to sanitize the telephones or you're all going to die of a plague. And they're like, no, that's useless. Nobody needs them. And then they send them off. It reminds me of that cultural commentary paper that Irish guy wrote about eating Irish infants.
The satire?
Yeah. How to prepare and eat Irish children. And it is, I mentioned it to somebody and they were like, what? What are you talking about? And I forget exactly what it's called. I'll find it and I'll put a link in the show notes. But people were complaining about the number of children that Irish people were having.
They were getting into a eugenics argument.
Yeah. We need to stop them from reproducing.
English society.
And he was like, oh, no, we don't need to stop them from reproducing. We just need to start eating their children. We'll just eat their children, and that will solve the problem.
Yeah, then they won't overwhelm us numbers-wise.
Right, because we'll just eat them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay, great.
Yeah, that solves the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
That solves any kind of food scarcity issues that you're perceiving in the cities.
Right. It's like in the U.S. where we have created this false perception of healthcare as this scarce resource because we've always had to pay for it. Because you and I went through a long period of our lives where we had no health insurance. Mm-hmm. You put your finger through a table saw and I put that shit back together myself because you don't go to the hospital when you don't have health insurance.
Especially not the emergency room.
And so it creates this culture of scarcity where we are all competing over a resource that is not a resource we need to be competing over. And so one of the current dialogues that's popping up all over the place is like, well, people who don't deserve our healthcare are taking our healthcare away from us.
And socialized healthcare is such a complex problem that only 32 out of 33 of the most developed countries on the world have solved it.
Correct. Well, and then what's the solution? What do you propose that we do? Do we let them die? Do we leave them bleeding on the street? Do you check their papers after a car accident? And if they don't have the correct papers, you leave them? Is that what you do? Is that what you want? I'm going to need you to turn your What Would Jesus Do bracelets in at the nearest facility, because I'm pretty sure that's not what he said. And I've deconstructed a lot of my very fundamentalist religious background. Do you know? Okay, I'm sorry. We're not usually this explicit, but here we are today. I've been going through it, so you're all going to go through it with me too. I grew up in the world that a lot of these, like the trad wife, the religious fundamentalists, the Christo-fascists, the Christian nationalists, that's the world I grew up in. And I have worked really hard to deconstruct a lot of that. And I know there were times in my past when I have made the argument that they're all making, because that's what I was told would happen.
Right.
I was told that the Democrats were going to come for me.
You're parroting the lines that were fed to you.
They were going to hold me against the wall. They were going to put a gun to my head, and they were going to tell me I had to renounce Jesus Christ or they were going to kill me. And I had to go through that. And then I had to deconstruct all of that and realize what that was, that was just a way of controlling people. And in the process of that, I had to learn a lot of shit about the Bible and about religion and about Jesus and about what he says and what we should do. And then I had to confront what I was being told and then what I was being told to do, and how those two things were so fundamentally different. Love thy neighbor as thyself, unless they're brown or blacker, not white.
Right.
That's not your neighbor. That's somebody else. You can kill them. That's fine.
Your neighbors are the people that look like you and talk like you.
Yeah. Yeah, and agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because doubt is of Satan.
Yeah. So
Satan
anything that
sends you
challenges
doubts.
your worldview should be removed.
Should be removed, because you don't doubt, that's Satan. You don't ask questions, Satan sends you questions. And to watch this from the other side now is, I feel it. Like, it's triggering on a level I can't even describe to you. And to watch the Gen Z radicalization into the world that I worked so hard to make my way out of is incredibly painful.
Yeah.
Because you guys had it. We were out, you guys. You were out. You were on the other side. And you're going back into the burning fucking building. The building is on fire. Okay? It's been on fire for a long time. And we carried you out on our backs. And now you're going back in. And it is so fucking frustrating to watch that happen. Do you know what we won for them? Marriage equality? Voting rights? The Barbie movie is older than testing period products with actual blood.
Right.
We got that for you. And you're running back into the fucking burning building. And I'm going to put a period there, and I'm going to move on. But I had to say my piece, because this is the episode where it all feels appropriate. Okay?
But what if the inferior begin to outnumber the superior?
See, that's why we ended up
The Great
here.
Replacement.
I read a book growing up about how we were going to end up as two races. We were going to end up as... We're here for this ride. I'm just going to tell you.
Was it the Time Machine?
No. No. Similar to this. I'm sure the guy read the Time Machine and was like, oh, okay. We were going to end up as a light-skinned, intelligent, technologically advanced race. And primitive, dark-skinned work class. And that's how we were going to end up divided. And that was the goal. That's the goal.
Yep.
And if you are trying to reason with any of these people, just bear in mind that that's the kind of shit they're being fed. And they don't question it, because that's Satan. But Dr. Franklin does retort. He's like, I don't serve evolution. I'm not here to decide who gets to live and who has to die. That's not my job. In fact, I will save people even when they don't want to be saved. I'm real good at this. He goes, I serve humanity even when the patient isn't human. And they're like, okay, but what happens when the inferior is saved from the process of natural selection? and begins to outnumber the superior. And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? This is when Ivanova's like, I think we should all actually just kind of move on now. And Dr. Franklin's like, oh, okay, cool, but I don't believe that any form of sentient life is inferior to any other. And they're like, yeah.
We hear that from a lot of the inferior races.
Yeah, that sounds like that sounds like a beta thing to say.
You know, I think we should all be moving on by now.
I don't believe that any form of sentient life is inferior to any other.
Yes, we often hear that argument from inferior species and their sympathizers.
Just 1 second. You're saying that if you saw a child from one of these inferior species bleeding to death and all you had to do is move one finger to save its life, you wouldn't do it?
We would neither help nor harm them. It's not our place to interfere. The way for one race to help another is to allow evolution to run its course. It's for their own good.
What do they call them? I'm sorry, I don't know the actual hierarchy. I only know alpha male. You know what I think of every time I hear they're like, I'm an alpha or whatever, is there's a whole class of romantasy where with werewolves.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that sounds like a furry thing?
It's not furries. It's this whole thing where you have this thing called knotting. We're on this ride together, where you get stuck together after the man finishes during intercourse.
Yes.
And that is like a thing.
The male canine penis.
Right.
Has a bulge at the end.
Some woman, some queen at some point asked the question, do werewolves have that? Like, does that happen to werewolves? And the result is the Omegaverse. So if you ever wander into the Omegaverse, that's a thing. And so every time they're like, I'm an alpha male, I'm like, all I can think of is the Omegaverse. Anyway.
And the response I've seen to that is, oh, I'm not really into furry, kinky stuff.
Yeah. Well, there's not even really alpha males. Like, there's not, wolves do not even
The
organize
whole
in that
alpha
way.
male thing was from wolves in captivity.
Yeah. What a shocker. It's based on faulty science, just like all the rest of their beliefs. So, okay, whatever. He's like, okay, so if you saw a child from one of these, quote, inferior species bleeding to death, and all you had to do was move a finger to save its life, you wouldn't do it? And
We
they're
would
like,
neither help nor harm them.
yeah, it's not our place to interfere, which is the prime directive.
You have some strange notions, but I'm sure they will pass with time.
And this is when she's like, yes, come on, let's go, let's leave. Thank you for the stimulating conversation, doctor. And he goes, Ivanova just goes, I'm sorry, like whispers it to him. And as they're leaving, like they're out of earshot, he goes, strange notions. I got your strange notions right here. It's a nice parting shot.
Yeah.
Good thing. I mean, I get that how they want them to be on their side, but it's like, at what cost?
Right.
At what cost? And then we come back, and it is Londo. And he sees Garibaldi, and he's like, Garibaldi, a moment of your time. Let me buy you something. I'll make sure it's chemically inoffensive. And Garibaldi's like, I don't really have like time for this. And he's like, Mr. Garibaldi, a moment of joy in a lifetime of sorrow. Take it while you can.
AKA treat yourself.
Yeah. Then he walks up to the bar and he's like, my usual. And he goes, here, I have something for you. And he gives him a purse, like a ducats.
A bag of money.
Ducats. And he's like, you want to tell me what this is? And he's like, it's not a bribe.
I'm just paying you back for all the money that you lent me when I was when money was tight for me.
When I was down on my luck and you were there for me, you gave me money and now I'm paying you back. And he goes, thanks. And he's like, that's all. Thanks. And he's like, yeah, okay, I guess I'll get you a receipt because I want everything to be on the up and up. And he's like, I don't want a fucking receipt.
Thanks. That's all. Thanks.
I'll get you a receipt, because I want to make sure everything's on the
No,
up
I
and
don't
up.
want a receipt.
Then what do you want?
I want you to stay and have a little drink with me. I want you to be happy. And I want me to be happy. I want you to be happy for me and me to be happy for you. Is that so much to ask around here? Why is everyone here walking around like they're afraid of me?
Because maybe we are.
What are you talking about? I would never threaten you or the others.
Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know you anymore, Londo. None of us do.
Wait. Please.
I want a friend.
And he's like, what do you want? He's like, I want you to stay. I want you to have a drink with me. And this is a really good moment to juxtapose against that time that Garibaldi was on the run and he went to Londo and Londo gave him money.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, I see you. I see myself in you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we're friends. And I get it.
Yeah.
And then now Garibaldi's like, we can't be friends anymore. Like, we're not the same anymore.
Right. You've made choices that have fundamentally changed who you are.
Yeah. Like Londo says, I want you to be happy. I want me to be happy. I want you to be happy for me and me to be happy for you. Is that so much to ask around here?
Why is everybody walking around like they're afraid of me?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Londo, because
maybe we are.
Because you're a literal war criminal. Maybe that's probably it. I don't know. I'm just gonna shoot my shot in the dark here, but it's probably the 250,000 Narn that you didn't care if they got killed.
Yeah,
yeah. And Garibaldi says that. He goes, "Yeah, because we are." He's like, "What are you talking about? I would never hurt you. I like you." Or the others. And he goes, maybe not, but I don't know you anymore, Londo. None of us do. You were not who we thought you were.
Yeah.
And he's like, wait, please, Garibaldi. In my time here, very few people on the station have listened to me or taken me seriously until recently. And now I have friends I never knew were my friends, but you always listened to me. You were always kind to me, even when you had nothing to gain. And now things are changing and I want to share it with somebody. And it turns out I got fucking no one except you, my good dear friend.
No,
good, close friend.
This is a change up of language.
I know.
He uses my good dear friend when he's just being performative. But this is the first time he said my good close friend. Aw.
I know. And Garibaldi's like, I got to make my rounds, but like, I'll try to stop by later. And, you know, if you're still here and I've got the time, I'll take that drink. Okay. But no guarantees. And he's like, oh, no, none required. I'll be here. And then he goes to leave and Londo turns to the bartender and he's like, that was my friend. That was Garibaldi. He's my friend. It's good to have friends, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. And I think the real important message of this episode, if none other than what we've already discussed, is what Londo lost and what what G'Kar realized he never had in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is their tragedy arcs. Londo had everything, but he had no power. And now he's gained power and he's already begun losing everything.
Yep.
And G'Kar thought he had a position of power. He thought he had a position of authority. He thought he had influence, and it turns out he had none of those things.
Right. He had inadvertently destroyed it.
Yeah. Oh, and then we go back to G'Kar and the Narns, and he's talking to the group of Narns, and he's like, look, I'm not any happier about this than you are, but if you keep shenaniganizing, you are jeopardizing our chances to make allies with the humans and other aliens. And they're like, we're Narn. We don't need allies. We've never needed allies before. And he's like, yeah, we've never been in this position before. Congratulations. The world has changed and we must change with it. And the best part about this whole scene is there's a propaganda poster in the background.
This must be like the Narn quarters, the Narn section of...
Narn common room?
Yeah.
I don't know what this is.
Because at the end of the hallway, there's a very like Cold War-esque poster, but it's two Narns.
Two Narn faces, side by side. And someone asked JMS about all the fans. Every time we see the Narns, there's a bunch of fans in the background. They're like, what is that? And he was like, I don't know. We just love anytime you can put a fan in, you put a fan in. And it reminded me of that movie we watched called, I think it's Love. And the guy's supposed to be on a spaceship and they just stacked box fans behind him. And you picked it out immediately. You were like, those are just box fans. And I was like, oh, that's so cool, space station. Like, I didn't see the box fans at all.
Yeah, it was a whole bunch of box fans with a bunch of backlighting.
That's the one where they built the set in the guy's like driveway.
Yeah, and it was modules, and they eventually moved it to the backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good movie, actually. That's a good movie. It's a very good example of what you can do with nothing. Yeah. So he's like, we pushed the Centauri off through a war of attrition, so it wasn't worth their effort to stay. But we've never dealt with direct, total open war before. And that's a completely different approach. And they're like, poor Jakar. He spent so much time with humans, he started to talk like them. And I said, this is what happens when you're no longer compliant with extremist mentality.
He lost his authority and influence with the Babylon 5, the council.
Yeah.
By accommodating the Narn extremist positions too much. And now he's pivoting and to try to gain that back. But now he's losing the respect of the Narns by accommodating the Babylon 5 Council and the humans.
There's a very good book called Black Pilled that I think everybody should read. And I'm just going to put that on a table. Write that down. Read Black Pilled. It's about the idea that these groups trap the people in them because they become your entire social circle. They become the way you speak. They become the way you think. And then when you no longer comply with them, you're ousted entirely from the group and you lose everything. You lose your social circle. You lose your everything. And because you've been so immersed for so long, it becomes hard to interact with people outside the group because you've forgotten that other people don't think the way that you do.
Right. Your sense of community has been corrupted from being compatible with like regular society.
Right.
And then you lose your entire community.
You become radicalized into these groups. And so anyway, it's a good book. And so what's happening is Jakar is no longer completely aligned with the
radicalized Narn movement.
Yeah. The Narn propaganda. Really. I mean, look at the poster behind him. And so they're like, oh, you sound like a human. We don't need anybody. We're strong. We can do this. And he's like, I'm on the front lines and I've fucking seen this. He goes, I was fighting the Centauri while you were still a pouchling, which means they grow up in the pouches. And if Jakar has a pouch, that means Jakar would take care of the young. You think it's like kangaroos? Are they marsupials?
I don't know if maybe it's like marsupials, but like seahorse marsupials. Where maybe after they're born, they move over to the male's pouch to continue developing.
Okay. I mean, I think that's a good thing to think about. Definitely creates a moment of levity that's much needed in this moment. He goes, I was fighting for your freedom. I've spent my time and my blood trying to better the lives of our people. What have you spent? And he goes, I will not allow the humans or the Centauri or the Membari or anyone else to hurt that cause. And that includes you and everyone else here.
If you're interested in showing how strong you are, I suggest you return home and join the military.
Yeah.
If you're interested in showing how strong you are, I suggest you return home and join the military. It's easy to talk about being strong here when there isn't a Centauri ion cannon pointed at your head. I know it is difficult. But for now, we must remain calm.
Almost as if attacking unarmed civilians while wearing a mask is just cowardice and not actually real strength. Excuse me, I had something in my throat.
And Andreas like dials it up.
Yeah. Oh,
the emotion.
My God. Andreas Katsoulis. It's funny because we watch a lot of these 90s shows where you had these stars that he is amazing. Peter Jurasik and Andreas Katsoulis everyone else is doing a fine job. They're not worse, but they're not Andreas and they're not Peter. And Peter and Andreas are fucking turning it out in this episode. Yep. You want to weep for them, for both of them. And Lando's a fucking war criminal. And you're still like, oh, the poor guy. He's so sad. And Jakar, who has been a villain this whole time, you're like, oh my God, it was a veneer of strength. It was a mask.
both of them were only ever doing what they thought was necessary to ensure the success of their society.
Yeah, and now they're in a situation that is rapidly spiraling out of their control, and they're both trying to maintain their position in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's heartbreaking. And they never did anything else. I mean, Peter's in Tron a little bit. He's like banking software. He dies pretty early on. And Andreas is in like a couple of other things. He's in Hot Shots Part 2. He gets shot. And there's that scene where he's shooting people and it's got like a body count counter in the bottom corner. He's in that scene.
Oh.
And seriously? You had Andreas and you were like, come out of the door and get shot. Can you do that? And he was like, in my sleep, sir. In my fucking sleep. We slept on these people is what I'm saying. You know, now you get these big stars and then they'll come back and do TV. But the transition from TV to movie did not happen in the 90s. If you started out as a TV actor, no matter how good you were, you didn't make the leap.
Right.
Bruce Willis is one of the few people who did.
I think a lot of it has to do with the internet.
Yeah.
And I guess the ease of sharing information, it became like before the internet and I guess more the tooling like email and like fast communication of dense information. Like I'm attaching a Word doc to this email or I'm attaching a spreadsheet to this email.
Yeah.
It was not feasible for like a particular casting team to actually get up to speed on the breadth of talent that was available.
Yeah.
And actually like juggle lots of considerations to narrow down from like 10,000 people to like a couple hundred and say, okay, we're going to evaluate these couple hundred that meet our criteria. It was like, I know like 50 people. I know of like 50 actors that could do this kind of thing, and we'll narrow it down to like 10. And so they got missed because it was not feasible to actually kind of process that much information when you were making these kinds of very general decisions. But then after like the early 2000s, when all of these better tools for sharing and processing lots of information, now like agents had a louder voice with casting teams, but the casting teams had a much larger territory of talent that they could explore. And so you started to get the potential to transition between like niche genres of media.
I think that, and I also think that TV did not command the level of respect that it does now.
Right.
So, okay, you're a good TV actor, whatever. Because you're looking at, we're in the transition period between shows like Gunsmoke, where you just make a half-hour episode every week, or Days of Our Lives or General Hospital, where you have one new episode every single day of the week. You have hundreds of episodes. You never go back. You never review. You just, you create one-off short stories, done. That did not command the same level of respect as movie actors.
Right.
Because TV wasn't seen as cinematic. And so Babylon 5 sits in this really weird moment between, like, you look at Forever Night, it had no budget and no continuity. And it didn't matter. Nobody cared. There was the standard for continuity wasn't there. Nobody demanded it because it was just a TV show. Who gave a shit?
Right.
And Babylon 5 sits in this weird moment between the type of show that Forever Night was and the type of show that like The Sopranos is going to be, where we are elevating the concept of TV into something that can have something to say and can be cinematic and can have an overarching storyline and can be meaningful and can employ big actors and can really command a lot of respect.
Right.
And I think that there's nothing wrong with them never going on and doing anything else. The fact that Andreas and Peter are stellar in this is good enough. It's fine. I just always wish better for these people.
Yeah.
like Nigel Bennett in Forever Night. Should have gone on and done more. And he does a lot. Like he's in Shape of Water. Actually, Shape of Water is also John Kapelos. And I had that's one of the primary examples of my pet theory that Guillermo del Toro is a huge Forever Night fan.
Mm-hmm.
Guillermo, if you ever listen to this, I need to know. I did message him on Instagram as a Hail Mary. I was like, are you a fan of Forever Night? I'm never going to get an answer. I knew I wasn't, but I had to just shoot my shot. But anyway, I think that's why this happens. I think it's because, yes, also there was not the visibility. You couldn't, the circles that TV actors moved in and the circles that movie actors moved in were two entirely different things.
Right.
And the connectiveness that we have right now is new.
Right.
This did not exist even 12, 15 years ago. The amount of connection that everybody has is so much. The imperative of connectiveness is so much.
Mm-hmm.
And that just didn't exist. And so it's very possible that people just didn't. And he did try. Like he's in Communion. He's in a couple of other movies. But you had to get in and then you had to get seen. And then you could move to the movie circle. And then you couldn't go back to the TV circle once you were in the movie circle. He didn't get Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis was in Moonlighting. And he only makes the jump to Die Hard because Die Hard was the cracky, weird-ass production that it was. If it was not that,
Die Hard was
made
desperate for a lead.
Yeah.
And their other options were turning down the
And nobody
script.
thought he was going to do a good job. It was a joke. He was a joke. And because prior to that, he was a romantic comedy actor on TV in Moonlighting. Okay, great. Yeah, he's going to be your action star,
hero.
fucking whatever. And then he did great because a lot of these people are great actors. They're just on TV, so they weren't in movies. Anyway, the point of this is that Andreas should have won an Emmy. He should have won an Emmy for being Jakar because he is so he's like, it's easy to talk about being strong here when there isn't a Centauri ion cannon pointed at your head. He goes, I know it's difficult. He even dials it back. He's like, okay, I get it. I know it's difficult. For now, we must remain calm. And they're like, okay, whatever. Heard, IDK, LOL. And then they turn around and they're like,
Jakar
YOLO.
leaves. And then the guy he was just talking to was...
He's like, now we send a message of our own. And then they bring a Centauri guy out from like behind a curtain and then stab him. You're like, yoink.
The instigator.
Dink. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he Tonberries him. He like kills him with one stab.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, so leave him out where they can find him. And then tell the others. We attack in 6 hours. And it turns out Jakar actually really can't control his people.
Yep.
Because he hasn't put himself into a position where they respect him and his choices. They only respect his strength.
Now that he's diverged.
They only respect his strength. They didn't respect him because he was making good choices. They just liked his posturing.
Yep.
He goes, when we finish, there must not be one Centauri left alive on this station. And then we come back and it's Dr. Franklin and they found the Centauri guy. And he's like, could have been killed by a Centauri? That's what Sheridan says. And he's like, I mean, the guy that killed him had 5 fingers and fingernails. And so like, maybe? There's nothing that says it's not the Narn, but there's nothing that specifically says it was Narn.
It could be Narn, but it could be a whole host of humanoids that have a 5-fingered hand.
Yeah, and then Garibaldi is immediately like, cool, I'll go tell Jakar, or I'll go tell Londo that this guy was killed by a Narn. What, Garibaldi? You don't have proof.
You have circumstantial evidence.
What happened to my cautious Garibaldi who would be like, we don't know that. We don't know that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't even jump this fast when you thought the president was going to get assassinated.
Right.
And Sheridan's like, hold up, Michael. God damn. He's like, this place is a powder keg.
I think Garibaldi wants to get it wrapped up because it's such a potentially large issue that it's kind of like out of their control. And he wants to let this thing escalate up to the appropriate authorities.
Yeah.
But Sheridan's like, whoa. We don't know how Londo is going to react to this. This could just explode.
Yeah.
If we tell if we make the statement to Londo that, oh yeah, it was probably a Narn.
Yeah. Well, I think Garibaldi's also coming from the longer we wait, the more they're going to think we waited.
Right. And it will be suspicious that we knew it could have been a Narn and we didn't tell you.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's still like, God, Garibaldi, take a minute. Look at Sheridan and be like, do you want me to tell Malari right now or what? Because he's just like, I'm off. I'm going to go tell Londo. And then we go to Londo because they decide, we'll hold on because we don't know for sure it's the Narn. If we say it's Narn, even if it is or it isn't, it's going to just blow the fuck up. Just take a minute. Let's figure out the best way to approach this. And then we cut to Londo and they're like closing up.
Londo.
We know they're closing up the bar and they're like putting chairs on the tables and they're like, hey, so we're closing up. You should probably go home. Were you waiting for someone? And he's like, yeah. Someone. You don't want to like him. He's a genocidal maniac. He's a war criminal. And you're like, oh no, Londo, you're so sad. Do we need a hug?
He's complicit in the ongoing atrocities.
Yes.
But we still feel sad for him.
He made you shouldn't be hiding your military targets on your civilian planets statement. And you're still like, oh, poor Londo. This is so good. It's because he's so well written.
Yeah.
And then we go back to Ivanova and somebody rings her doorbell and they're like, good morning. And they just walk right in.
At her quarters.
Yeah. It's like, it occurred to me that you're only showing me the good things about this place in an attempt to impress us. And I really just think that you should show us some other stuff, all perfectly understandable given the temptation of our company. Yeah, okay. Because it's real fun to hang out with people who think they're better than you.
We can tell you're trying really hard to impress us, and so you're only showing us the good stuff.
Right. And she's like, well, let me introduce you to the concept of fucking privacy. If you're going to stop by, you should ask or have told me you're coming. And then the guy's like looking at her blue roby thing that she lays with. And she's like, hey, I said privacy. And you're like, oh, what is this? And she goes, it's personal and it's mine. And you two are going to wait outside until I'm ready. Which Ivanova can only be pushed so far. Even diplomatic Ivanova is like, there are lines. This is my boundary. This is my home and I need you to leave. I'm just telling you what I need. So I need you to get the fuck out. And so they do. And then she holds it up and she's like, wait, where's the rest of it? And he's just like, he just runs off with her underwear or whatever was sitting on the table on her bed. And she's like, how about this? You just choose any part of the station at random and I'll take you there. Your choice. No problem. You just tell me and we'll go. And he's like, oh, okay. Agreed. Yeah. And that's the end of that part. And then we cut to Narn talking to this guy.
The weapons dealer?
He's got a
box.
Do
you have many of these? Oh, yeah. I got loads of these big, swords.
A box of swords. He has a box of swords. Did he sneak these in one at a time or did he bring in the entire box?
Who knows?
Somewhere, someone has to scratch out one day since we found a weapon on Babylon 5 and turn it down to 0 again. And later, he pulls out a gun. He pulls a gun later. Oh, my God.
Yeah, they mentioned, we got a couple guns, but it's otherwise not heavily armed.
Yeah. Oh, my God. And then we come back to Sheridan, and he's talking to Frank. He's talking to the guy in charge, the representation of Earth military. And they're like, hey, we read your email, and we're going to have to go ahead and say no, we're not going to intervene. We don't feel like we're going to support their military just to help save their civilians when they got caught in the middle. Kind of sounds like they should have thought about that before they became civilians. So we're not going to be doing that. And he's like, I know this isn't what you wanted to hear, but we really just can't give them any help. And I feel for them as much as you do, but they're on their own. And then he hangs up and Sheridan's like, get me Delenn. This is Natoth's last appearance until season 5.
Whoa.
Yep. And when she comes back in season 5, it's the original Natoth again. They were like, actually, Mary Kay, thank you so much. but we're going to have to just go ahead and let you go. She's better here than she was the first time we saw her.
Right.
This is only the second time we've seen her, so it was only up from there. But they're like, after this, they're like, okay, well, Natoth had to go take care of some sick relatives or something. I don't know.
I remember something about Natoth having a whole like covert mission, and she comes back, and Jakar's like, good. Like, you've been extremely productive in all these tasks I've given you.
Yeah.
And now...
You also transformed back into your most authentic self, so I'm really glad you're back, Natoth.
Yep.
Oh, we'll get there in season 5 when we finally get to season 5, which we're like halfway through season 2. It's taken us a year. We're in this for lifers at this point. But Jakar hears from Natoth because when they were looking at the box of knives, Natoth was like lurking behind a box. Mm-hmm. Oh no, I believe they have knives. So she comes back and she's like, Ambassador Jakar, I'm afraid they didn't listen to you. And he's like, oh no. Shrock. Are they armed? A few guns, mostly Drazi knives, long ones with like the poison tips or whatever. She's better than that. I'm being really unfair. And he's like, okay, when are they going to attack? And she goes, 2 human hours. Not even cycles. They're just like...
Hey, I mean, 2 human hours is better than
Does this mean
cycles.
4 hours have passed? Or are Narn hours so short?
When they said hours before, they probably meant hours because Babylon 5 runs on Earth time.
Yeah. She's like, should I alert the captain? He's like, no. If he tries to stop them, there's going to be more violence. Or they'll just wait a couple of days and then they'll do it again. So this has to be stopped at the source. And so this is them saying that they don't receive my authority, that they've rejected my authority. And so I got to go back and get it fucking back. And she's like, oh, you're not gonna. And he's like, oh yeah, no, I totally am. I'm going. And she's like, cool, then I'm coming with you. And he's like, I don't know. I don't think that's wise. And it's a good thing she does because she's the one who punches the guy with the gun.
Right.
And keeps him from shooting Jakar in the back. And this is when Ivanova is walking around with the Lumati again. And they're
down below.
Down below. And she's like, when I said you could choose any place, I thought you'd pick like the CNC or the Zocalo or something. And they're like, yes, that's exactly why we chose this. You said these are your own people? And she's like, yeah, but we call them lurkers? Wow, that's a...
Like...
you didn't have... Okay.
You didn't have to throw out, like...
Oh, yeah, we have a name for them.
Term for them.
we have a derogatory term for them, actually, which we commonly refer to them as, and they're lurkers. And they're mostly humans, yeah. They come here in search of new lives, new opportunities, and sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. And when it doesn't, they kind of can't afford to go home, so they just end up here getting small jobs here and there. And then when those go dry, they move to the undeveloped parts of the station. The undeveloped parts of the station. Like down below.
Which is kind of lore, I guess, about why are these rooms just empty or
they haven't finished
filled the
yet.
boxes. Right, because I guess they haven't expanded. Like finishing.
Maybe they ran out of money. They're waiting. I don't know. She goes, you really shouldn't be seeing this. And they're like, why? This is the best fucking part. And she's like, I'm sorry, what?
We love it.
They're like, fucking brilliant.
You're inspiring us.
You isolated yourselves from inferior. Oh, we have isolated ourselves from inferior species, but you actually isolated the inferior parts of your own species as part of the evolutionary protection. And she's like, well, that's not. Okay, hang on. Whoa. You're saying the quiet part out loud. You're not supposed to say the quiet part out loud. You just send the unhoused out onto the streets where it's survival of the fittest.
Right.
And then they actually work for you, but they don't have any power to negotiate better situations. So you have complete control over them and you've limited their resources for reproduction. So they just die out there alone. That's amazing. And Ivanova's like, no, that's not. No. This isn't intentional.
Mm-hmm.
We have enough money in circulation to solve this problem. But it's not, quote unquote, intentional.
Right.
And they're like, oh, you're too modest. This is a brilliant move. You see, you isolate the genetic pool, you limit their chances for procreation, you create a workforce without a power base to challenge you. God, that one hurt.
Mm-hmm.
That one hurt. You know why? That's why we will never have privatized healthcare in the U.S.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can't quit your job. You lose your health insurance.
This isn't because of, like, eugenics and procreation and that kind of thing. No, this is just capitalism.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. This is rampant late-stage capitalism.
The system that is producing the lurkers is not a human eugenics structure. It's
not a deliberate eugenics structure.
The eugenics structure is a perk of
It's
hypercapitalism.
a bug, it's a feature, not a bug.
Right. It's, that's cool that happened too. We don't have to do that explicitly.
I get that this is supposed to be levity, kind of, but also it's a really succinct summation of why we don't actually solve the problem of the unhoused. Right. Because under capitalism, you can't. You can't provide support because you have to have a desperate workforce who will work for nothing. You have to have it.
Right.
And they
have to have health insurance tied to employment. Otherwise, people would leave their jobs.
And you have to punch down.
Yeah.
You have to fucking get everybody to punch down. You can't ever look up. You can't ever look up and see who is actually holding you down.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the person holding you underwater. It's the person you're looking down at who's below you in the water. That's the person you blame.
Yeah.
You're not drowning because you're being held under. You're drowning because they're pulling you down.
Yep.
So the line, you create a workforce without a power base to challenge you, that also hurt. I hurt a lot in this episode. There was quite a moment where I was like, oh, ow. As someone who has been only unemployed or underemployed for their entire career, this really hurt. And that's a part of my TED Talk, which is about how the the interview process fails to select the actual best candidate and only selects the best interviewer, which is almost never the person who is the best fit
would
for
actually
the position.
be good at the job. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's you'll have to come to my TED Talk if you want to hear about that. I've often thought it would be fun to start like a consultation service, a group that goes in and talks to hiring managers about a better way of hiring people. And you just get a bunch of autistic and ADHD people together and be like, you realize that there's lots of autistic people who would be way more qualified for this position and who would work so fucking hard at this job and would excel so great at it, but they're never going to interview well. They're just, I'm a terrible interviewer. I can talk for 3 fucking hours about Babylon 5. I can sit in a room and have a conversation in depth about something for 3 hours. But as soon as you sit me in front of someone who I know is interviewing me, I can't even talk.
Yeah.
I was trying to cross the border into Canada I just needed to get this one piece of paperwork fixed. And I could not articulate that I needed to get this piece of paperwork fixed.
Right, because they were asking
me a direct question. And
yeah.
As soon as someone asks me a direct question like that, I panic. I literally panic. I shut down and I cannot have a conversation about it.
If it's a direct question about you, you shut down. If it's a direct question about a different thing that you're working on, you can answer it.
That's fine. Right. But you put me in an interview and you're like, what is your greatest strength? I'm like, I don't know. I'm not strong. I've never been strong. I don't know how to do anything. I don't even know how to talk. I have lots of strengths. I fucking taught myself audio editing. I figured out all this podcasting shit. I can do lots of things, but get and hold a job. Yeah. Anyway, God, don't do that. It's for my TED Talk. No one's going to come if they already know all the content.
Sneak peek.
I say after I'm the one who continued the conversation about it. So this is the part where they're like, alliances are built upon more than tactical advantages because they're like, this is a really great idea. We're going to institute this on our world at the first opportunity. You have taught us a better way. And she's like, that's not, no, please don't let that be the takeaway.
And
he goes, it would appear that we are more similar.
Talking for himself.
Well, he says, it would appear that we're more similar than I first suspected. And that's when he starts talking to himself, talking for himself, which is like, you're right. We also think we're better than everybody else and that we don't need to help people because they should be pulling themselves up by their own bootstraps.
Right.
I bet the guy who said that rolls over in his grave every time somebody pulls it out because it was intended to be satire.
Right.
Because you can't literally pull yourself up by your own
Right.
bootstraps.
It's supposed to be absurd.
Yeah. And people were like, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Rugged individualism. Yeah. I can only get to the top by pushing everybody else below me down. You're right. Correct. Yeah. Says a lot about the American spirit, honestly. Anyway, it's like, congratulations, Commander. But this more than anything else has convinced me that you're worthy of an alliance. So we're going to go discuss terms and then we'll be back. And then she runs off and he runs off. And Ivanova just goes, oh, hell. And the whole part where she's trying to tell him she doesn't actually, this isn't us. Why are you, please stop. Don't take this.
This isn't intentional. This is like a sad situation. We're ashamed of this.
Yeah.
We would like to do better.
He's like, oh, stop being modest. Don't, that's fine. Don't.
Yeah.
He's not listening.
We also appreciate modesty.
He's not listening. And this felt like a recent conversation that I've had in my life. Over the last 2 weeks, I've been trying to obtain this thing called a legal description of a piece of property that we own. And normally this is only provided at closing. And it has taken me over 2 weeks to get someone to get me the thing that I need.
To even agree to try it.
Yes. And that's what this felt like. Where I'm just like, can I have this legal description? And they're like, no, we only do that at closing.
You don't need it.
You don't need it. Well, I do need it. I'm requesting it right now. Okay, but we don't do that. Well, you don't need it. We don't
do that right now.
Well, I do need it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not me asking for it. It's somebody else asking me for it.
Sends me the wrong thing. This doesn't work. This isn't going to work. It's fine. This is all you need. And then having to send it off, wait for the other person to come back and be like, that's not what I need. And then having to go, okay, but see, they said that's not what they need. Oh, well, that's dumb. They don't need it. Oh my fucking God. Are you listening to the words coming out of my mouth? That's how Ivanova feels when she goes, oh hell.
Yeah.
Like, oh great, fine. I didn't get, okay, whatever. In the end, she got what she needed, which is how I felt.
Yeah.
Did I win? Not necessarily. Did I get what I needed? Yeah, kind of. And then we go to the Narn and they're having another Narn powwow. Narn
pep
group.
Talk.
Narn pep talk. He's like, do you know where we all know where the Centauri can be found. The casino, the Zocalo, the night places, for they are creatures of the night. Okay. They like to party, I guess. We will. And then Jakar pops up and he's like, you will do nothing. This is not your battle. And they're like, why don't you go back to your human friends? Because you don't have any authority here. And he says, and I love this fucking line so much, you cannot take what you do not own.
You will do nothing.
This is not your battle. Go back to your human friends. You have no authority here.
You cannot take what you do not own. My authority comes directly from the Kari. It can only be taken by force.
Are you challenging me?
You've already made the challenge. The question is, do you have the courage to back it up?
You can't take my authority from me. You don't get to just decide whether I have authority or not. That's not how this fucking system works. Because my authority comes directly from the Kari. The only way you can
not the consent of the governed.
The only way you can take it from me is by force.
Right.
Well, it does kind of if they elect the Kari and the Kari appointed him.
Right.
Then he is.
Yeah, I was just making
I get what you're saying. But he's basically like, you don't get to just.
I didn't vote for you.
Decide. Not my president. Shut up. You're undermining my statements here. What he's trying to say is you can't just decide that I'm not the one in charge.
Right.
That's not how this works. You can work to take me out of my position. You can act in a nonviolent capacity in a way that shows that you don't respect my authority or you don't recognize my authority. But to just go out and start murdering people is not okay. Like, that's not where this needs to go. He's
and
like, if you have a problem, you need to challenge me.
Are you challenging me? And Jakar's like, fuck you say? You challenged me.
You already
I'm
made
responding.
The challenge. Yeah. He goes, my question is, do you have the courage to back it up? And then we get a fight scene.
I'm wondering, does Andreas do his own stunts?
Oh, they asked that too.
Uh-huh.
And JMS said a little of this, a little of that.
Okay, because I noticed in a lot of the shots of Andreas, or I guess of Jakar fighting, it's from behind.
Yeah.
And so we don't see Jakar's face. There's only a couple like specific positions where it's actually Andreas.
He said yes and yes. So some of it is stand-in, some of it's
there's
Andreas.
The shots that I'm thinking of are mostly when Jakar is getting like pushed or twisted or whatever in the hand-to-hand fighting. And I thought, that's probably not Andreas.
Yeah.
But there's a few of them like where he's moving his arms like
yes.
That looks like Andreas. But then when they're actually grappling.
Yeah.
Like that looks like stage fighting.
Yeah. Which I'm sure Andreas was like, I got this. It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. But then the actual like grappling throwing scenes, they probably had a stunt person for.
What really backs up the you cannot take what you do not own, or the like you can't take my authority with this little bitch ass move you've got going here, is the part where they try to shoot him.
Yeah.
While he's fighting during the challenge.
Right. Because this is the legal avenue to like
you think it's a problem? You think you deserve my authority? Take it.
Yeah.
Take it. You think I'm not doing the correct thing? Take it from me.
The Narn actually like accommodate authority by combat.
Yeah. He's like, you can't just not recognize my authority because you don't agree with me. That's not how this works. I'm trying to do what's right. I'm trying to win this war for us. I'm trying to save Narn lives, and you're fucking it up. And then the guy stabs him in the back, too. It's a whole series of this guy's clearly not competition for Jakar. And it's a Drazi blade. It's poison, which ends up amounting to nothing because he's like, I got the remedy at home. It's fine. I get stabbed by Drazi blades like all the time. And she's like, okay, I'll go get help. Natasha's like, I'll run get help. And he's like, no. We mustn't let them see weakness. And so he walks out leaning on Natash. And then we go to Sheridan talking to Delenn. And he's like, so I had a brief meeting with Dr. Franklin, and he thinks he can get medical aid to the Narn, earmarked for their civilians, for those we can't get out so that we can try to help. We can send an aid flotilla to... I'm not laughing at it. I'm laughing because there's literally no other way to react to that isn't just screaming in terror and crying. He's like, the ones that we can help. And Delenn's like, what about the ones that we can't get out? And she's like, Sheridan says, well, I can't be any more specific, but from time to time, he's been able to get other people out of sticky situations. He's got a whole underground network set up for telepaths. He's not currently using it. So he's like, well, I got nothing else to do, so I'll help them. And he's like, he's agreed to use his contacts to help us get some of the Narn civilians out of harm's way. And Delenn's like, doesn't this violate your government's recommendations? And he's like, they said I couldn't do official help, but this is as unofficial as you can get. So Austin Clare would be so proud. Can you pick out the one word in that sentence you shouldn't have said? And he goes, if we do this right, there won't be any fingerprints leading back here. And Delenn's like, yeah, but it's still a risk. And he's like, yeah, I know. But like, where has not taking risks gotten us? And Delenn's like, actually, I took a risk recently. And let me tell you what happened to me.
But then Sheridan has this line, I've learned that governments deal in matters of convenience, not conscience.
Yep.
Oof.
And if they fall behind, it is up to the rest of us to make up the difference. Because if we don't, who will? And then I thought of the stump from the Lorax that says, unless. Unless people like you care a whole awful lot, things will not get better. No, they will not.
Yep.
Because Delenn goes, who indeed? And then he goes, yeah, anyway, so I've also made some inquiries, and it turns out that we have more food coming into Babylon 5 than ever gets used. So since the Centauri don't want trouble with your government, maybe the Minbari could take some food to the safe zones. And then, the
Minbari purchases the surplus of food from Babylon 5, and we didn't this is for your private use. We don't worry about where you're going with it, what you're going to use it for.
You take it to the safe zones, and then on your way back, you maybe just kind of bring some.
We got a bunch of room
with it, Yeah. She goes, well, I don't have the same resources I once had, but what I do have is at your disposal. She still has a lot of friends.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's too bad all of their ships are only one person, though. We can only keep one person in here. She goes, thank you. Since you've decided to sign on with Babylon 5, I'm sure that, this is when we come back, and it is the Lumati again.
Mm-hmm.
Why call them Lumati if they're not? Give them a different name. So that in the future, listen, if you're writing a television show right now, just remember later in the future when podcasters want to talk about your shit, they have to remember all the names. And if you put Lumati, they're going to want to call it the Illuminati for the entire episode. Because Ivanova was like, I'm sure the captain won't mind if we just use his office to conclude this deal, and then hands him some tea. He's like, I checked the logs. It's fine for you guys to drink this. And then he just hands it off to talk and wipes his hands together like, ew, gross.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you just handed me. And he goes, tradition is important in my culture. Our important agreements are symbolic with coming together in perfect union. This certainly qualifies. And she's like, oh yeah, no, the captain felt very strongly about making this deal happen. And he's like, great, then we'll conclude this deal in our traditional manner. We will have sex. She goes, sex?
Yes. Tradition is important to my culture. Our important agreements are symbolic with coming together in perfect union.
Well, this certainly qualifies. The captain felt very strongly about making this deal happen.
Then we will conclude this deal in our traditional manner. We will have sex.
Sex?
He's like, yeah, it's necessary to finalize the agreement, which this is fine. And it's funny that it's played for laughs. I don't have any problem with this. But wouldn't it be part of the negotiation to what is okay with one culture and what isn't okay with another culture? Because it's not perfect union if we don't both seal the deal that way.
Right.
So if that's not how sex is treated, what if she can't have sex?
Right. That would be such a huge... that would be such a big consideration anytime you're dealing with a new race, a new civilization.
Right.
Is you have to have a lot of cultural exchange before you can make these deals.
What if
so
they're
that you
poisonous
can say,
to each other?
Right.
What just basic biology? What if they would harm each other?
Right.
I mean, the Centauri have 6 dicks. That's not on a pamphlet anywhere. What if you had to seal the deal with them and 6 tentacles come out and they're like, let's do this? I'm going to be so fucking terrified. No, that's horrible. What if the way that you reacted to it mattered? And how they have sex has literally nothing pleasurable to do. It would be painful. What if it was painful? Yeah. Well, now it's not perfect union. It's just your domination over... It's you controlling how this deal gets put together at the end, which is just you maintaining superiority, which is not the point of this exchange. Right. This exchange is between equals. Right. So I should have an equal say in how this is solved. And it's played for laughs. And so just put a pin in it. Don't think too deep. Just don't look at this too closely. It does not survive scrutiny. And she literally puts her hand behind her back and pushes her own communicator button. And she's like, what's that? Yes, the Pak Marat deal? Of course. I know. I forgot that I had to be there. I'm going to be right on the way. And they're like, what? What? Can't you take a minute? She goes, let's put a pin in this. And I'll get back to you in a little bit. And we can finalize this. Because he's chasing her with these grabby hands. He's like, And then we come back to Garibaldi in his office and Sheridan arriving, and it's Natath with the Narn guy.
Yep.
And Natath here has a little present for us, courtesy of Ambassador Jakar.
He'll confess when he comes to trial.
Yeah, don't worry. And he's like, no, of course I will. What did Natath do to him? I hope it was bad. He'll come to better understand the concept. He's come to understand the concepts of honor and obedience. And so they stick him in a cell, and they're going to take their statement. And then they're like, okay, Londo will go up the flue when he finds out one of his people was killed by a Narn. He's going to announce it all over the station as proof that the Narn are barbarians.
Garibaldi does the Londo accent.
It's so good. You're like, oh, he does a really good job of that, actually. He's like, the trial's going to stir up even more violence around here. Retribution, revenge. The situation can't get any uglier. And then it comes back to Ivanova. This is one of my favorite cuts, is when a conversation gets clipped as if they're all having the same conversation, but they do this a lot. Luc Besson does this really well in Fifth Element.
Yeah.
Because there's the scene where they're talking to, I think it's, who are they talking to about the stones? Oh, it's Jean-Baptiste Emmanuel Zerg is talking about the stones.
Yeah.
And Lilu is talking to the priest about the stones, and they keep cutting back and forth, and it's so well done.
Yeah.
This is one tiny moment where we do this. It's almost as good as coming in at the end of a joke.
Yeah.
Almost. Because they go, can this situation possibly get any uglier? And then Ivanova goes, this couldn't possibly get worse. And it's her talking to Dr. Franklin as they're walking into Earnhardt's.
Earhart's.
Earhart's. That one.
The Intimidator.
So good at names. So good at this. Ivanova goes, he said, do whatever you have to, but nobody said I'd have to have sex with an alien.
This couldn't possibly be any worse. Do whatever you have to, he tells me. But nobody told me this involved having sex with an alien.
Well, he didn't know. None of us did. We barely met this species before now. Who knew that they treat sex the way we treat handshakes? Maybe you should talk to the captain.
I can't. I linked him a note just before the meeting telling him that everything was taken care of. I can't go back now and tell him that it's all fallen apart.
Well, you could put a bag over his head and do it for Babylon 5. Maybe not.
And Dr. Franklin's like, well, he didn't know. None of us knew. We've barely met the species before. Who knew they treated sex the way we treat handshakes? He's like, talk to the captain. She's like, I can't. I linked him a note telling him everything was taken care of. And I can't go back on that now and tell him it's all fallen apart. And Dr. Franklin glows, maybe you could put a bag over his head and do it for Babylon 5. Can you take one for the team, Ivanova? God, are you not a team player? And she just looked at him and he goes, maybe not. She goes, I'm doomed. And he goes, I can inject you with something to make you sick. He goes there so fast.
It's his default reaction.
He doesn't talk
about... It's a reflex.
He doesn't talk about sedating the other guy. He doesn't talk... He's just like, I could give you something. Do you want me to get... I could give you something. And she goes... He doesn't know enough about anybody's biology but his own. He'd fall for it. And she goes, that's it. And he goes, I'll get a needle. He just is immediately like, oh. What luck. I have one right here. Let me just go get it.
I keep a needle. I keep several needles. Sedative. Make you sick.
I know, he pulls out a bag. He's like, sedative. Vomit inducing. Okay. Oh, no, here it is. Here's the one I wanted. Why do you have all those? Oh, you got to be prepared. She goes, no. I've decided I'm going to give him exactly what he wants. And then she runs off. I'll catch you later. And then we come back and it is
G'Kar meeting with Dylan and Sheridan about Dylan and Sheridan's plan to help behind the scenes.
Right. Because Natal tells him that they're waiting for him. And so he runs off and he goes, you see, this is what happens when you work towards cooperation. You get what you need. And then he runs off. And it is so sad. Because he's like leftover food and medical supplies and cargo holds to smuggle out a few here and a few there. And they're like, it's literally the best that we can do. It is not nothing.
Right.
And the alternative is nothing. And he's like, no ships, no cruisers, no fighters, nothing, no mines, no drones, no weapons. And they're like, we can't enter this conflict, G'Kar. You know that.
Right.
We cannot enter this conflict, Shikara. You know that. But we can help to save as many of your people as we can.
And I can't tell anyone about it. Can't use this as leverage on the others. Because if I talk about it, the aid disappears.
I'm afraid so. This has to be done on the QT, Jakar. But it is a start. I thought you'd be pleased.
Yes. Of course I am quite pleased. I understand the risk you are both taking. I will honor your request. And I thank you on behalf of the many Narns whose lives this will save.
He did. But he had hope.
Right.
And he's like, we can save as many of your people as we can. That's the best we can do. And he goes, okay, but I can't tell anyone about it. I can't use it as leverage on other people because if I talk about it, the aid disappears. And they're like, yeah, that's how underground works. That's how it works. This has to be done on the QT, Jakar. And he goes, but it is a start. I thought you'd be pleased. And he's like, oh yeah, no, I mean, I'm pleased. I'm quite pleased. I understand the risk you're both taking. God, that has to hurt.
Yeah.
I thought you'd say thank you. You could say thank you. And he's like, okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, okay, great.
I understand the risk you're both taking. I honor your request.
I thank you on behalf of the many Narns whose lives this will save. And then he walks out and he's just crying.
Yeah.
And laughing. And crying. And it reminds me of the scene at the end of Schindler's List, which if you have 8 hours, some movies are like 2 hours long and they feel really short. And some movies are 2 hours long and they feel like they take you all fucking day to watch. And Schindler's List feels 8 hours long because it is so good. But there's a scene at the end where he has to run away because they figured out his ploy.
Yeah.
Oh no. The Allies are coming.
Mm-hmm.
And because he runs a munitions factory, they expect him to be either imprisoned or harmed.
Right.
And so they're trying to save him because he wasn't actually running a real munitions factory. He was using it as an excuse to save people. And they pull up the car and he's like, oh, my car. He's like, how many people was this? How many people could I have gotten out with this?
Mm-hmm.
Is that 10 people? And then he has a gold Nazi pin and he pulls it off and he's like, this is a person. These are people. These are people I could have saved because he bribed people. That's how he got. And that scene is so heartbreaking because he's like, I did a little, but I didn't do enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's kind of how this has to feel to Jakar, which is like, I've tried so hard and this is all I'm getting. And it has to be enough because it's better than nothing. And I just have to be thankful for what I've gotten, but it's got to hurt.
Yeah.
It has got to hurt. And then we come back and it's Ivanova. And then
like all done up, like hair down and
I know she's like, hey. And
I've thought it over and I'm ready now.
Oh my God, this whole scene. She's like, I mean, we can do it your way, but I thought maybe you wouldn't be able to handle the human way. And he's like, oh, I can handle it human style. I can do it. She should have just pegged him.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say
that would be the implication now, I think.
She should have just pegged him. Bend over.
Yep.
What is that? You don't need to know. Can you tolerate this lube? I looked it up on the bio thing. It's not poisonous. It's going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would have done. Then it's, I guess maybe that is also intimacy. But in terms of if you've got to put a bag over his head and do it for Babylon 5, at least it's a different form of intimacy.
Well, and I don't think it's supposed to be intimacy. It's supposed to be the act of procreation, which makes sense given their focus on like the eugenics side of things is, oh, we're making a deal. And it's
a symbolic, I would be willing to procreate
gesture
with you.
of how much I value this deal is I actually consider you a good mating partner.
Yeah.
Because that's such an important consideration in their society. But you can't actually procreate with another species.
Right, but it's symbolic.
Right.
Right, which is why a symbol of a dick AKA pegging would have been perfect.
Right.
I don't know. Just want to throw that out there. It's a possible solution in the future should that pop up again. She doesn't even have to take her clothes off.
Right?
She could just be like, I'm going to strap it on. Bend over, bitch. Sorry. Anyway, that was my thought when I saw all this. But Matt could not watch this. Could not. My favorite part is when she starts yelling random phrases. Tell me about your portfolio. Oh, yes.
Lie to me about your family.
Lie to me about your family. Tell me about your Bitcoin wallet. How many downloads do you have on your podcast? Yes. And then when she's done, she goes, God, you're good. And he goes, what do I do now? She's like, old style, you roll over and go to bed. New style, you go out for pizza and I never see you again. He's like, okay, maybe I'll call you before I go. And then she runs off. The best part is when Talk comes in and grabs
kisses her hand
and then
laughs as he walks out.
Like, you got him. Good job. He fucking knew.
Talk knew.
Talk knew. And then we go back to Londo with Sheridan and Garibaldi. And they're doing like a double team thing where one's standing on one side and one's standing on the other side. And they're like, I mean, if you think about it, like there's really no reason to tell anybody about the Narn who killed the Centauri guy. I mean, it's just, it's an unfortunate situation that happened. Like maybe we don't spread it around. And
we don't want to inflame tensions around here.
I love that Londo just goes, do you have a picture?
He's like, oh yeah, this guy was trouble.
He's like, oh, that fucking guy.
And I told him it would end badly for him.
Yeah, he goes, he doesn't have any family. It's fine. It's fine. Who cares? I don't care.
I can sweep this under the rug.
Yeah, no problem.
Don't worry about it.
Just deport the Narn, auction his shit off, donate it to the war effort, and we're good. And they're like, oh my God, thank you. And Londo's like, almost as if I'm not a horrific bad guy. He says,
right?
Being a horrific bad guy. This does not make it better. And then we go to Ivanova and Sinclair. And it's after the Lumati left and they've given her a present. And so she opens it and the note says, next time my way, which there's no obligation to do it again because he considered the deal sealed. So, and it's a sex toy, but it's like a little wind chime.
It looks like a wind chime.
Which is why I think pegging would have worked. Because he clearly understands the concept of sex toy.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, then the very end is Londo and Garibaldi. And it's Garibaldi showing up to have a drink with Londo, which he really only does because Londo is so reasonable about the Narns and everything.
And I think he said that he would show up if he had time, if his shift got off early enough, whatever. But he was still kind of like, this dude's a fucking war criminal.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have a drink with him. But then Londo kind of demonstrates that I'm not actually like a wholly evil person.
He reminds him for a moment of the Londo who was.
Yeah. And so then Garibaldi's like, okay, he's not as far gone as I thought. So, okay, I'll have a drink with him.
I think it's give and take too.
Yeah.
Londo had this moment of humanity, for lack of a better word. So I can throw him a bone.
Yeah.
Because he's like, thank you so much for being reasonable about this. And he's like, Ma, I didn't need the publicity. It's not going to help my war effort. We're already winning. And it helps you. And so you're my friend. So of course I'll do that for you.
Yeah.
Which implies that if it would have helped his war effort, he'd have done it. He'd have smeared it. He'd have bragged it all over town and called Narns are barbarians.
Yeah.
And then Londo's like, it's good to have friends, even if it's just for a little while. And Garibaldi goes, yep, only for a little while.
It is good to have friends, is it not, Mr. Garibaldi? Even if maybe only for a little while?
Even if only for a little while.
And apparently what he orders him is a Shirley Temple. That's what Jana said. And that's the end of that episode, which has one of the funniest, most wacky moments in amongst oh my fucking God. Oh my fucking God moments.
Several.
This is, we started this podcast because we were doing Lex. And Lex is fun. I love Lex. But it's sex jokes, right?
Right.
It's not, and it does kind of get a little bit broader later, but for the most part, it's sex jokes. And so I wanted to do Babylon 5 because I knew it would give us the opportunity to talk about things that felt as emotionally
relevant
as what is happening in real life. I knew this was coming. And it's going to get worse before it gets better.
How apt.
Well, it didn't feel, it felt like, oh, that's so terrible that that's happening to them.
Mm-hmm.
Not like, you too?
Yeah.
Oh my God, you too? Even now? Oh, shit. I don't know. It's wild. I know the end of last episode, I kind of lost it a little bit. Had a moment. And I'm not going to apologize because sometimes it gets too much and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to just sit with it when you need to because it's like releasing a pressure valve. You know, sometimes you can disassociate and kind of take a moment away, touch grass and breathe for a second.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you come back, you know, it doesn't get better. It doesn't make it better. It just makes it bearable.
Yep.
In a way that you stay sane at the end of it. And you can't help and you can't keep fighting and you can't keep working for things to be better if you don't maintain your own perspective. And I think that's one of the things that I admire about the G'Kar character is he goes through a lot.
Yep.
He hasn't even begun to go through the shit that he's going to go through.
Right.
And adversity can break you or it can make you stronger.
It can inspire you to grow.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's all about your perspective and how you maintain it and the relationships you form and keep and which ones you strengthen and which ones you let go and who you choose to lean on when you need it. And I think that's a really good lesson that we pull from Babylon 5 is, the good guy doesn't always win. It's not Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Star Trek for that. I like that Star Trek is a utopia. I like that I can go to Star Trek and the good guys always win. It just feels so good. Like if I need a moment where I know everything's going to turn out okay, yeah, I'm going to watch The Next Generation, of course, because it's all going to turn out okay. I tried watching Picard, and the minute they were like, oh, that's not how the Federation actually is. That's just the delusions of a man who always thought the world was better than it actually was. I was like, fuck you, and I turned it off. And I haven't gone back and watched it ever again because that's not why I go to Star Trek.
Right. We shouldn't have, well, I guess our perception of Star Trek should not be grimdark.
No, I don't want grimdark. This is basically grimdark at this point, Babylon 5. But I think that it's important to have properties like this because we mentioned in a couple of episodes ago, and I'll say it as many times as needs to be said, is that story is an important element in our culture.
Mm-hmm.
And not only does story shape culture, but culture shapes story. So the only way that we can explore or can do, a lot of times the only way that people interact with this type of story, like, now I don't know, say the rise of fascism and what you would do and what a culture would do and what it would look like when that happened on a large scale is through story.
Yeah.
And so when it pops up in real life, you've already seen it modeled. You have experience without having to have experienced. And so story makes you resilient.
Yep.
Just like community makes you resilient. So, find your people, find your stories. I think that's probably a good place to leave it. We live for the one.
We would die for the one.
Until next time, friends.
Bye.
God, you're good.
What do I do now?
Old style, you roll over and go to bed. New style, you go out for pizza and I never see you again.